Chapter 521, Ninth Leader. A morning quickly passed by. At noon, after he finished eating the fine wine and delicacies brought over by the academy workers, Duan Lingtian left his courtyard. Squeak squeak, the chubby little gold mouse lay on Duan Lingtian's shoulder with a round stomach. In next to no time, the inner hall students walked out of their courtyard successively. At the center square of the Dragon and Phoenix Academy, the 10 inner hall students and the group of outer hall students had gathered together once more. Depart. The Vice Dean, Kai Ming, personally led the group of students to leave the academy. Blackwind Ridge was situated not far away to the east of the Imperial City. The group of Dragon and Phoenix Academy students that dashed like the wind only spent an hour before arriving around Blackwind Ridge. It's best if all of you act within the limits of your ability in Blackwind Ridge. If you encounter bandits that you're unable to go against and face imminent death, there will be someone who will save you. Those that are saved will be taken to have failed in the mission, and their points will be 0. Kai Ming had a serious expression as he spoke. This was him announcing the final rule. 0 points. The group of Dragon and Phoenix Academy students couldn't help but shiver. Alright, everyone split up now. Along with Kai Ming's loud shout, the group of Dragon and Phoenix Academy students swarmed into the Blackwind Ridge like bees. Amongst these people, there were lone wolves and there were many small teams. Duan Lingtian followed behind everyone and entered into Blackwind Ridge. Right at this moment, Duan Lingtian was able to clearly notice that after the group of academy students entered Blackwind Ridge, the group of martial artists at the void-prying stage and above followed up to them. These void-prying stage martial artists were obvious in charge of recording the score and protecting the group of Dragon and Phoenix Academy students. The hidden resources and reserves of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's imperial family are shocking. There are at least almost 100 people when all these void-prying stage martial artists are added up, right? Duan Lingtian couldn't help but be astounded. Although these void-prying stage martial artists were mostly only at the first, second, and third level, their number was still shocking. After entering Blackwind Ridge, the group of academy students split up themselves. In next to no time, Duan Lingtian headed deeper into Blackwind Ridge by himself. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian was able to notice that there was only one person remaining behind him. Moreover, this person wasn't unfamiliar to Duan Lingtian. It was precisely the Dragon and Phoenix Academy's Vice Dean, Kai Ming. I never imagined that I had such high standing. Vice Dean Kai is actually personally recording my score. Duan Lingtian was slightly overwhelmed by the sudden favor. Of course, he knew clearly in his heart that besides recording his score, the reason this Kai Ming was following him was mostly for the sake of protecting him. After all, the natural talent and strength he'd revealed now ought to have already obtained the attention of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's imperial family. Whereas Kai Ming would probably not let anything happen to him before he participated in the competition of geniuses. If it wasn't for this, Kai Ming wouldn't have sent someone to protect him from the shadows when he left the academy earlier. Whirlwind. Duan Lingtian's figure flashed out at full speed, and he entered deep into Blackwind Ridge in the blink of an eye. It wasn't long before Duan Lingtian discovered a small lake. There are actually lakes in Blackwind Ridge. Duan Lingtian was slightly surprised. Along with Duan Lingtian soaring up into the sky and looking down in a large area beneath his feet, he instead noticed that besides the lake that he'd noticed, there wasn't a second lake anywhere within the vicinity of this area. Those bandits are concealed in Blackwind Ridge. Normally, they wouldn't be able to do without replenishing their food. Duan Lingtian thought in his heart. Water is a necessity to them. When he thought up to here, Duan Lingtian plunged down and concealed himself behind an enormous rock that was behind the lake. Hide and wait. It was Duan Lingtian's current plan. Squeak squeak, when the little gold mouse saw Duan Lingtian leaning on a rock and resting, she couldn't help but ask curiously via voice transmission. Big brother Lingtian, what are you hiding here for? Little Gold, I'm waiting for those bandits to arrive. Duan Lingtian smiled. Waiting for the bandits to arrive? The little gold mouse was slightly puzzled, and her pair of jade green eyes were filled with a perplexed expression. Big brother Lingtian, you're not going to look for those bandits, could it be that those bandits will come over by themselves? Duan Lingtian smiled. Little Gold, Blackwind Ridge occupies a vast area. Even if I search everywhere, I'll at least need to spend 1 or 2 months of time to completely search it. Moreover, those bandits are extremely cunning, and they might not stay at the same place all the time. Whereas this place, so long as there are bandits concealed nearby, they will surely come here. Duan Lingtian finished speaking with a single breath. Why? The little gold mouse still didn't understand. Big brother Lingtian, why are you so sure they will surely come? You'll know extremely soon. Duan Lingtian smiled mysteriously, and he hid behind the rock while looking at the movement in the surroundings of the nearby lake. Time silently flowed by. At dusk, the sky was fully crimson, causing the entire Blackwind Ridge to seem as if it had transformed into a sea of flames. Squeak squeak, the little gold mouse lay on Duan Lingtian's shoulder drowsily, and she said slightly impatiently, Big brother Lingtian, how much longer must we wait? You little fellow, they've come. Duan Lingtian wasn't able to finish speaking to the little gold mouse when he noticed some movement ahead. After a short moment, 3 burly middle-aged men walked out from the nearby bushes to arrive nearby the small lake. FK, I'm thirsty to death. A middle-aged man stood before the lake and stretched out his hand to scoop up some water before pouring it into his mouth. The other 2 people took out some water canteens to gather water. Ninth leader is too cautious. Our brothers were all thirsty to death since the morning, yet he didn't allow us to come out and gather water, and he insisted on it being dusk and almost night before allowing us to come out. Another middle-aged man grumbled. All right, don't grumble anymore. Ninth leader did this because he was worried that the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's imperial family would send people over. Only by being cautious will our brothers be able to live long, said the last middle-aged man. Quickly gather the water and we'll leave. In next to no time, the 3 middle-aged men gathered the water and intended to leave. Squeak squeak, the little gold mouse lightly cried out by Duan Lingtian's ear. Big brother Lingtian, you want to let them leave? The little gold mouse asked via voice transmission. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded, then he silently followed them. These 3 people were only 9th level nascent soul stage martial artists, and if he wanted to kill them, he would be able to kill them all in the blink of an eye. Now, Duan Lingtian was following them precisely because he wanted to find where they concealed themselves. Duan Lingtian followed behind the 3 of them, yet the 3 of them didn't notice in the slightest and chatted amongst themselves. I heard 7th leader brought along over 10 brothers and slaughtered 2 villages during these past few days, and he'd even seized many women, it's truly enviable. A middle-aged man spoke as he drooled, and his eyes flickered with a sheen of lust. If I knew earlier, I'd have followed 7th leader at that time. Although 9th leader is loyal, he has been busy breaking through lately, and it's been an extremely long time since he brought our brothers to leave Blackwind Ridge to raid homes and plunder houses. Another middle-aged man sighed. Alas, I haven't savored the taste of a woman for half a month. But when I recall that woman from half a month ago, it was truly satisfying. Unfortunately, her temper was too violent and she took her own life after being played with me once. Back luck. As the last middle-aged man finished speaking, he had an expression of pity. You still have the nerve to say that? You killed her husband and son before her eyes. It would be weird if she didn't take her own life. Duan Lingtian followed behind these 3 people and heard the 3 of them ceaselessly speaking about their own glorious deeds. Unknowingly, Duan Lingtian's fists were already clenched tightly, and his eyes even flickered with frightful cold light. Now, he wished for nothing more than to directly kill these 3 people. But he still endured it in the end. Based on what they said, they have a total of 9 leaders. In other words, this bandit group had a total of 9 bandits in charge. Now, they're divided into 9 groups that are scattered around Blackwind Ridge. Duan Lingtian found out some information from the conversation of the 3. 9th leader is at the first level of the void prying stage. The corners of Duan Lingtian's mouth curled into an evil expression. I never expected that it's only the first day I've arrived at Blackwind Ridge, yet I've encountered a big fish. Little gold. Duan Lingtian looked at the little gold mouse that was burning with eagerness on his shoulder, then warned. Don't interfere when I make a move later, otherwise, don't think of eating meat in the future. Duan Lingtian's words caused the Duan Lingtian to be like a deflated rubber ball. She drooped her little head as she said via voice transmission, then I'll go to sleep. The little gold mouse did as she said. She grabbed tightly onto the clothes on Duan Lingtian's shoulder, and fell asleep in next to no time. This caused Duan Lingtian to be speechless. This little gold is similar to little black and little white, they're simply like the reincarnation of pigs. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled bitterly. Duan Lingtian's gaze became slightly distant when he thought of the 2 little pythons. I wonder how little black and little white are now. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian's thoughts were pulled back to reality. Because the bandits that he'd followed all the way had returned to their hiding spot. This place was an inconspicuous gorge. The entrance was only a single line that was extremely narrow and was merely able to accommodate one person entering sideways. After the three bandits entered, Duan Lingtian followed in and concealed himself nearby. Ninth leader, we've returned. After the three bandits entered the gorge, they shouted out loudly. Water! Water! Instantly, the group of bandits swarmed over to receive the water from the three bandits before fiercely taking a mouthful. You didn't notice anything off, right? Right at this moment, a voice that was like muffled thunder abruptly sounded out, and it resounded within the gorge. Subsequently, Duan Lingtian, who was concealed on the large tree that was at the side of the entrance to the gorge, noticed that a robust man that wore worn-out armor walked out from the wooden house in the gorge. The robust man had dense brows and large eyes. There were 3 saber scars on his face that were like 3 centipedes. The most hideous scar started from below his eyes, and it was just a little bit away from crippling his eye. No, ninth leader, water. One of the 3 bandits that went to gather water walked out and respectfully passed over a water canteen. That's good. The robust man nodded, then received the water before starting to drink with large gulps. After he finished drinking, he tossed the water canteen to the side, then turned around and looked at the bandits under his command. Brothers, I'll be able to break through in 3 days at most. At that time, I'll bring all of you along to go around to see blood and play with women. 521 Chapter 522, Slaughter. Coldness appeared on the corners of Duan Lingtian's mouth when he heard the words of the bandits' 9th leader. Breakthrough in 3 days at most. In other words, this 9th leader of the bandits was still a first-level void-prying stage martial artist now. Duan Lingtian's spiritual force stretched out and detected the amount of bandits in the gorge at the first possible moment. There were an entire 30-plus people, and the 9th leader was the strongest amongst them. The 9th leader was the one and only void-prying stage martial artist amongst the 30-plus people. Whoosh! After he finished detecting them, Duan Lingtian's figure moved to descend from the tree and completely exposed himself before the band of bandits. Whereas when the band of bandits saw an unfamiliar person had suddenly appeared in the gorge they hid within, and it was even a young man, they were all dumbstruck. Kid, where did you come from? A bandit shot his gaze at Duan Lingtian then asked with a low voice. He's probably some young master that came to play in Blackwind Ridge and has gotten lost. Some bandits noticed the little gold mouse on Duan Lingtian's shoulder. They only thought it was a pet and couldn't help but laugh. Old Wang, didn't you like this type of handsome young master with white and smooth skin? This young master that has delivered himself to us ought to suit your taste, right? One of the bandits looked at another rugged bandit and spoke with a smile. Instantly, the band of bandits roared with laughter, and they didn't realize entirely of the arrival and danger. Even the 9th leader of the bandits didn't take Duan Lingtian seriously. After all, as far as they were concerned, the violet-clothed young man before them was only a young man that was no more than 25 years of age. A young man like this posed no threat to them. He's indeed not bad, he's rather handsome, I just don't know how he is when played. The rugged bandit had a lustful expression as he walked towards Duan Lingtian. But he hadn't finished speaking when he'd already stopped abruptly, because a material point force condensed from origin energy had torn through the sky and interrupted him. Bang! The rugged bandit's body crashed onto the ground. A hideous bloody hole had appeared between his brows, and beautiful and dazzling fresh blood was still endlessly spraying out from it. After a short moment, his head was completely wet from blood. First level void-prying stage. A bandit was the first to recover from his shock, and he just happened to see the 2,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes in the sky above Duan Lingtian. The 2,000 lifelike ancient mammoth silhouettes gradually condensed into form, and they brought an extremely great pressure to everyone. Many bandits had ghastly pale expressions, and their legs shivered. A void-prying stage expert wasn't someone they could go against. Presently, only the bandit's 9th leader and the 3 bandits standing behind him were comparatively composed amongst the bandits present. These 3 bandits were all existences at the half-step void stage. Having a cultivation that has stepped into the void-prying stage at a young age, I wonder which one of the 5 great young masters you are. The 9th leader's face sank as he questioned with a shout. 5 great young masters. Duan Lingtian's brows raised and he shrugged. I'm none of them. You're not a figure amongst the 5 great young masters. The 9th leader sneered when he heard this. No matter if you are one or not, since you killed my brother today, you're dead. As soon as he finished speaking, the 9th leader flashed out. Whoosh! The 9th leader's body moved like the wind as a saber appeared in his hand. Origin energy suffused onto it before raging and rising explosively. In the sky, along with the 2,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes that dashed out with him, another 560 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. This was the amplification of the spirit saber. The 9th leader's saber was a grade 7 spirit saber. Along with the 9th leader and seeming to have transformed into a fierce beast that had opened its bloody mouth as it pounced towards Duan Lingtian, the spirit saber in his hand had an extra strand of vast aura. This strand of aura was extremely faint, and if one didn't carefully sense it, one would be unable to notice it. Instantly, another 200 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared beside the 2,560 ancient mammoth silhouettes. Elementary saber force. Die! The 9th leader shouted out explosively as he exerted his full strength, and his saber descended down towards Duan Lingtian's head while carrying along the might to split a mountain. He seemed as if he wanted to split Duan Lingtian into two. Terrifying origin energy leapt about on the saber, and as it crashed downwards, saber force suffused within it. Kill him! The other 3 half-step void stage bandits followed behind the 9th leader to charge towards Duan Lingtian. In the sky above them was 1,500 ancient silhouettes respectively. Subsequently, they withdrew their respective spirit sabers. Om, om, om. Another 3 sabers descended down, and they seemed to have transformed into the bloody mouths of fierce beasts that bit at Duan Lingtian. Futile effort. The corners of Duan Lingtian's mouth curled into a wisp of disdain when facing the 9th leader's saber slash that contained the strength of 2,760 ancient mammoths, and he shouted out coldly. Tempest Point. Subsequently, with a raise of his hand, Duan Lingtian's origin energy once again condensed into point force that tore through the sky. Swish! The origin energy point force flashed out to intercept 9th leader's saber that seemed to be able to split a mountain. Following around the origin energy point force was strand of azure-colored energy and violet-colored energy that twined around each other, seemed to be like an azure snake and a violet snake that leapt about. Tempest Point. Instantly, another 1,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared beside the existing 2,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes above Duan Lingtian. Presently, Duan Lingtian had executed the Tempest Point at the mastery stage that contained half-step advanced wind force and half-step advanced lightning force. No, impossible. The 9th leader's saber descended downwards at Duan Lingtian's head, and his gaze didn't leave Duan Lingtian from the beginning until the end. At the beginning, when he saw Duan Lingtian condense an origin energy point force to defend against his saber slash, he couldn't help but feel disdain in his heart. However, when he saw the 3,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes that suddenly joined together above the head of Duan Lingtian, he felt coldness surge up from his feet and shoot directly into his head. Clang! The Tempest Point tore through the sky, and by relying on the strength of 3,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes, it blasted the spirit saber in the 9th leader's hand flying. The hand the 9th leader used to hold his saber split apart as expected, and fresh blood dripped down. After the 9th leader was blasted back a few steps, he looked at Duan Lingtian in terror. Swish! But he hadn't even had the chance to speak when another material Tempest Point flashed over and easily pierced through between his brows. Bang! 9th leader's body dropped to the ground, dead. He followed in the footsteps of the rugged bandit. Avenge the 9th leader. The eyes of the 3 bandits that charged at Duan Lingtian went crimson red, and origin energy skyrocketed on the sabers in their hands that descended towards Duan Lingtian. The 3 of them attacked out with rage and used their full strength. But, no matter how angry they were, it was unable to change the fact that they were only at the half-step void stage. Whirlwind. Duan Lingtian's figure moved, seemed to have transformed into a gust of wind that easily avoided their attacks. Tempest Point. As his body moves, Duan Lingtian suddenly raised his hand and pointed out thrice. Swish, swish, swish. 3 Tempest Points tore through the sky and pieced the chests of the 3 half-step void stage bandits and killed them. Along with the 3 bandits crashing onto the ground, the gorge was deathly silent. In the blink of an eye, 1 first-level void prying stage and 3 half-step void stage martial artists had all died. The 4 bandits that were killed were also the bandits with the strongest strength amongst those present here. For a time, the remaining bandits all went pale. Lord, spare us! Lord, spare us! Instantly, many bandits knelt on the ground as they kowtowed to Duan Lingtian with shivering bodies. When they realized they were approaching death, they were afraid. With someone taking the lead, the remaining bandits knelt down onto the ground and begged for mercy with grievous voices. They knew clearly that unless the violet-clothed young man before them showed mercy, it would be difficult for them to escape death. Duan Lingtian stood before the group of bandits with a calm expression, and his gaze was extremely cold and indifferent. All of you know to be afraid now. Finally, Duan Lingtian spoke with a tone that was filled with extremely icy cold killing intent, and it caused the group of bandits to all go ghastly pale. Lord, spare us. So long as you spare us, we guarantee to not be bandits in the future. Yeah, Lord, spare us. I won't be a bandit anymore. The group of bandits made promises. When he heard the promises of these bandits, not only did Duan Lingtian not feel pity in his heart, he instead had slight disgust in his heart. If the scene before him were to be placed in his previous lifetime, it was no different to promising to the court after killing someone. I won't kill anyone in the future, let me live. Everyone had to be responsible for the things they do. Only one of you can live. Duan Lingtian took a few steps backwards and stood at the entrance of the gorge to block off the way out for the bandits, then spoke indifferently. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, before many bandits were able to react, another bandit had swung out his saber to kill his former companions that were beside him. The actions of this bandit jolted all the other bandits awake. Kill. For the sake of surviving, the group of bandits all raised their sabers against each other, attacking their former companions. After a short while, blood flowed into a river within the gorge. In the blink of an eye, only a few bandits remained standing. The condition of these bandits weren't so good, and they more or less had injuries on their bodies. In next to no time, as if they'd discussed it previously, the remaining bandits attacked out at the same time and unleashed a chaotic battle. Duan Lingtian watched coldly from the side. Right at this moment, he suddenly thought of something. Vice Dean Kai, all of them killing each other like this ought to be able to be counted into my mission points, right? The old man that stood in the sky and was concealed within the clouds and mist above the gorge received Duan Lingtian's voice transmission. He actually noticed me. The old man was slightly moved, and he was shocked in his heart. No wonder when I sent someone to follow and protect him the last time, it was see-through by him. Duan Lingtian is actually even able to notice where I'm concealed. The old man was precisely the Dragon and Phoenix Academy's Vice Dean Kai Ming. You didn't use the assistance of external sources of strength, whereas they killed each other because of what you said. These dead bandits naturally are counted in your mission points. Kai Ming replied Duan Lingtian via voice transmission. That's good. Duan Lingtian nodded. 522 Chapter 523, Duan Lingtian is captured. When Duan Lingtian returned to his senses once more, he noticed that the remaining bandits had all fallen down. Only one bandit remained with his last breath, and he obviously wouldn't live for long. Lord, save me. The bandit struggled to plead for help from Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian glanced at him indifferently and asked, do you know where the other leaders of your bandit group are? I don't know. The bandit shook his head with difficulty. Even if he consumed a healing medicinal pill, he was still out of breath. He'd suffered 2 heavy injuries, and the low-grade healing medicinal pills in his possession weren't able to provide any effect. Little Gold. Duan Lingtian paid no attention to this bandit and woke up the little gold mouse. Squeak squeak. After the little gold mouse woke up, she cried out in surprise when she saw the tragic condition within the gorge. Big brother Lingtian, when did you become so bloody? The little gold mouse's naive voice of a young girl entered into Duan Lingtian's ears. I'm bloody. The corners of Duan Lingtian's mouth twitched. Even if there was someone in the world that had the qualifications to call him bloody, it would absolutely not be the little gold mouse. In terms of both being ruthless and bloody, he felt he couldn't compare to this little fellow no matter how hard he tried. Little Gold, help me gather the spoils. Under Duan Lingtian and the little gold mouse's cleaning up, the spatial rings of the group of bandits had become Duan Lingtian's. Whereas during this period of time, that bandit that had survived the battle had died because of his heavy injuries. This time, Duan Lingtian could be considered to have obtained an excellent harvest. With all these bandits combined, my mission points ought to have passed 100, right? Before Duan Lingtian left, he glanced indifferently at the pile of bandit corpses within the gorge and thought to himself. Subsequently, Duan Lingtian brought the little gold mouse along and left the gorge. Duan Lingtian's face became gloomy right after he left the gorge. Because he noticed that 2 extremely familiar auras were approaching with extremely swift speeds. Duan Lingtian's face was gloomy, then his figure flashed out, intending to flee. Whirlwind. Duan Lingtian's half-step advanced wind force and half-step advanced lightning force gathered beneath his feet, and he seemed to have transformed into the wind as he flashed towards the distance. Duan Lingtian, you still want to flee before the two of us? Right at this moment, two aged figures seemed as if they'd appeared out of thin air before Duan Lingtian. Of course, they didn't appear out of thin air. Whereas it was their speeds that had attained a certain level that caused Duan Lingtian to be unable to catch sight of their figures. Zhao Ming, Tang Huo. Duan Lingtian's expression was unsightly when he saw the two old men that floated before him. He never expected that Zhao Ming and Tang Huo would appear in Blackwind Ridge. It's surely Lu Yu who informed them that the students of Dragon and Phoenix Academy were coming out to gain experience in tempering. In next to no time, Duan Lingtian guessed the reason. Duan Lingtian, we were unable to do anything to you in the Crimson Sky Kingdom that day, let me see who can help you today. The corners of Tang Huo's mouth curled into a cold smile. Zhao Ming's icy cold gaze stared at Duan Lingtian, yet didn't say a single word. Whoosh! Right at this moment, another aged figure appeared to stand before Duan Lingtian, and the figure protected Duan Lingtian behind himself. It was precisely the Dragon and Phoenix Academy's Vice Dean Kai Ming. Kai Ming couldn't help but be slightly moved when he saw Tang Huo and Zhao Ming. He wasn't surprised that the members of the Azure Forest Trisect wanted to look for trouble with Duan Lingtian. But what surprised him was that for the sake of Duan Lingtian, the Azure Forest Trisect actually sent out two guardian elders. It was truly unbelievable. Even if the Azure Forest Trisect regarded Duan Lingtian as even more important, it still wouldn't be to the extent of sending out two guardian elders, right? Kai Ming felt that there was surely a secret hidden behind this. Elder Tang Huo, Elder Zhao Ming. Kai Ming looked at Tang Huo and Zhao Ming with a calm expression and said with a low voice, Duan Lingtian is an inner hall student of our Dragon and Phoenix Academy now, and he's undergoing an experience mission right now. I hope that the both of you can leave quickly. Kai Ming, could it be that you think you alone are able to stop both the two of us? Tang Huo obviously knew Kai Ming, and he sneered. Kai Ming's face went gloomy. Tang Huo, don't forget, Duan Lingtian is a member of the Dragon and Phoenix Academy now, and he's protected by the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Imperial family. If you dare touch him, then it's going against the Imperial family. As far as Kai Ming was concerned, the Imperial family was sufficient to press down on Tang Huo and Zhao Ming to the point they couldn't catch their breaths. However, the development of the matter exceeded his expectations. Imperial family. Tang Huo and Zhao Ming looked at each other when they heard Kai Ming, then couldn't refrain from laughing. What, after your Azure Forest Trisect combined, you even look down on our Imperial family? Kai Ming spoke with a low voice. Kai Ming, if you're sensible then leave quickly, we're taking this Duan Lingtian for sure today. Tang Huo's words didn't have the slightest room for discussion. Imperial family, perhaps they would have to restrain themselves within the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Imperial City. But now, everything was too far away, whereas Duan Lingtian was before their eyes and about to become their prey. How could they let this opportunity slip by? After all, once they captured Duan Lingtian, it would also mean that they would obtain the 10,000-year stalactite milk. Once they consumed the 10,000-year stalactite milk, they would be confident in charging into the 7th level of the Void Initiation stage. At that time, so what if it was the Imperial family? The only reason the Imperial family was able to monopolize the kingdom was because of the 7th level Void Prying stage expert. So long as they captured Duan Lingtian and forged out the location of the 10,000-year stalactite milk from him, 7th level Void Initiation stage experts would appear in their Azure Forest Trisect. Moreover, it wouldn't only just be one person. At that time, their Azure Forest Trisect would be unafraid of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Imperial family anymore. Duan Lingtian stood there and silently watched the development of the situation. He noticed that the development seemed to not be going smoothly. Tang Huo and Zhao Ming seemed to want to capture him even at the hazard of offending the Imperial family. As for the reason the two of them did this, Duan Lingtian was able to guess it. Did they really think that I'd take them to the 10,000-year stalactite milk if they capture me? Duan Lingtian sneered in his heart towards how naive Tang Huo and Zhao Ming were. HMPH. Finally, Kai Ming grunted coldly, and the origin energy on his body fluxed, causing his robe to flutter without wind. Whoosh! In the sky, 8 lifelike ancient horned dragons gradually condensed into form. Kai Ming revealed his cultivation. 6th level of the Void Initiation stage. He wasn't inferior to Zhao Ming or Tang Huo. Duan Ling Tian wasn't surprised when Kai Ming revealed such a cultivation. His spiritual force had detected Kai Ming's cultivation since long ago. Kai Ming, if you really want to look for trouble, then don't blame me and Elder Ming for being hard on you. I presume that you ought to be clear that you aren't a match for the both of us together. As Tang Huo spoke, 8 ancient horned dragon silhouettes appeared above him. Whereas above Zhao Ming, 8 ancient horned dragon silhouettes gradually condensed into form as well, and they wriggled as they descended. Whoosh! In next to no time, strands of material blue energy leapt about on the origin energy on Kai Ming's body. Subsequently, another 5 ancient horned dragons appeared in the sky above Kai Ming. 5th level water concept. The corners of Tang Huo's mouth curled into a wisp of disdain, then as the origin energy on his body moved, strands of crimson-red energy leapt about, and the scorching aura caused the air to stagnate. 6th level fire concept. At the same time, 5th level wind concept appeared within Zhao Ming's origin energy, and the 8 ancient horned dragon silhouettes above him became 13. Both of you really want to touch someone that's protected by our imperial family. Kai Ming's face was gloomy, and he felt a wave of powerlessness in his heart. He never expected that Tang Huo had actually comprehended 6th level fire concept. 6th level fire concept was already not countered by his 5th level water concept. Originally, he planned to use his water concept to counter Tang Huo's fire concept, then pull Zhao Ming into the battle and fight for a chance for Duan Ling Tian to flee. But now it would seem that his thoughts had failed. Merely Tang Huo alone had surpassed him, and he was utterly unable to divert his attention to deal with Zhao Ming. Whereas at this moment, Duan Ling Tian's thoughts were spinning. Even if I lend my grade 4 spirit sword to Vice Dean Kai Ming, he probably might not be able to suppress Tang Huo and Zhao Ming. Looks like I'm bound to suffer misfortune today. Unknowingly, the corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth curled into a wisp of helplessness. He didn't flee because he knew that it was impossible for him to flee under the eyes of Tang Huo and Zhao Ming. Elder Ming. Suddenly, Duan Ling Tian heard an explosive shout. Subsequently, Duan Ling Tian saw that the azure clothed on Zhao Ming's body swayed as he transformed into a gust of wind with extremely swift speed and flashed directly towards Kai Ming, and he became locked in battle with Kai Ming. In terms of attack, the two of them were equal. In terms of speed, because Zhao Ming had comprehended wind concept, he was superior. Whoosh! Right at this moment, Duan Ling Tian heard a wave of the sound of the air tearing apart sweep towards him, and the sound approached closer and closer, and a scorching aura enveloped down onto him. St. Duan Ling Tian's face went ghastly pale when he saw Tang Huo pouncing at him. A powerful hand descended onto his shoulder, and the formidable origin energy shackled all the origin energy within his body. Subsequently, Duan Ling Tian was brought up into the clouds and swiftly flew into the distance. Within Duan Ling Tian's field of vision, Kai Ming and Zhao Ming went further and further, and in the end, they transformed into 2 black dots that gradually vanished before his eyes. During this period of time, Kai Ming wanted to save him on many occasions, yet was stopped by Zhao Ming. Duan Ling Tian, you've fallen into my hands in the end. Tang Huo's voice entered into Duan Ling Tian's ears. Elder Tang Huo, you better be a bit lighter. If you hurt me, then I might accidentally forget the location of the 10,000-year stalactite milk, and that wouldn't be good. Duan Ling Tian glanced at the hand that Tang Huo grabbed onto his shoulder with and spoke indifferently. HMPH. Tang Huo's face sank from being threatened by Duan Ling Tian. But his hand still loosened slightly. When he saw Tang Huo being so cooperative, Duan Ling Tian knew that his guess from before was correct. Tang Huo and Zhao Ming utterly didn't think of directly taking his life. The objective of the two was indeed the 10,000-year stalactite milk. Elder Tang Huo, where do you plan to take me? Duan Ling Tian noticed that Tang Huo actually brought him all the way east, and he couldn't help but be curious. Tang Huo paid no attention to Duan Ling Tian. Tang Huo only stopped moving when he arrived atop a precipitous mountain that was at the eastern border of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, then he held on Duan Ling Tian's shoulder as he stood in the sky. Duan Ling Tian sized up this precipitous mountain and didn't notice anything special about it. 523 Chapter 524, Duan Ling Tian's Plan. After a short moment, Duan Ling Tian saw a person swiftly flying over from the west. Zhao Ming. Duan Ling Tian's face sank when he saw this person that arrived. He understood that this place turned out to be the meeting point of Zhao Ming and Tang Huo. After a short moment, Zhao Ming arrived by Tang Huo's side, and his hateful eyes stared fixedly at Duan Lingtian as he spoke coldly, Duan Lingtian, don't play tricks. Otherwise, I'll kill you at the first possible moment. Duan Lingtian shrugged when he heard Zhao Ming's threats, and said indifferently, then go ahead and kill me, Elder Ming, we don't have to go find any 10,000-year stalactite milk. You think I don't dare? Zhao Ming burst into rage, and his origin energy raged with a raise of his hand. 8 ancient horned dragon silhouettes coiled down and accumulated force while waiting to be deployed. Elder Ming, Tang Huo frowned then stopped Zhao Ming, and he said via voice transmission. So long as we've found the 10,000-year stalactite milk, are you afraid you won't have a chance to kill Duan Lingtian? He's provoking you to anger, don't fall into his trap. Zhao Ming took a deep breath when he heard Tang Huo, then suppressed the rage in his heart. Duan Lingtian, where's the 10,000-year stalactite milk? Tang Huo looked at Duan Lingtian and asked with a low voice. Elder Tang Huo, both of you will let me off if I bring both of you to the 10,000-year stalactite milk. Duan Lingtian asked with a vigilant expression. Yes, Tang Huo wasn't surprised by Duan Lingtian's request, and he didn't even think before agreeing to it. How about Elder Zhao Ming? You're willing to let me off? Duan Lingtian looked at Zhao Ming. HMPH. Zhao Ming grunted coldly and paid no attention to Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, don't worry, so long as you bring us to the 10,000-year stalactite milk, I and Elder Ming will let you off, said Tang Huo to Duan Lingtian. Then both of you establish a vow under the 9 heavenly tribulation, otherwise, I'd rather die than take the two of you to the 10,000-year stalactite milk. Duan Lingtian had an expression as if he was indifferent towards what happened. You, Zhao Ming's face went gloomy. Elder Ming, Tang Huo frowned then persuaded via voice transmission. So what if we do as he say and establish a vow? So long as we obtain the 10,000-year stalactite milk, we'll surely be able to smoothly break through to the 7th level of the void initiation stage. At that time, with our strengths, even if we forcefully trespass into the Dragon and Phoenix Academy to kill Duan Lingtian, I presume the imperial family wouldn't say anything about it. As he finished speaking, Tang Huo had a confident expression, and he seemed as if he'd already seen the scene of himself breaking through to the 7th level of the void initiation stage. Zhao Ming pondered for a short moment when he heard this, then he agreed. Subsequently, under Duan Lingtian's gaze, Zhao Ming and Tang Huo pinched open their fingers, then used their own blood and the 9 heavenly tribulation as the witness to establish the vow. Once they locate the 10,000-year stalactite milk under Duan Lingtian's help, they would allow Duan Lingtian to leave and not make things difficult for Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian wasn't surprised when he saw Tang Huo and Zhao Ming establish the vow. He was able to sense the yearning the two of them had towards the 10,000-year stalactite milk, so he had nothing to fear. Squeak squeak, the little gold mouse cried out by Duan Lingtian's ears and said via voice transmission, Big Brother Lingtian, you really intend to bring them to the 10,000-year stalactite milk? Duan Lingtian replied via voice transmission. Of course I wouldn't. Then what's the use of making them establish this vow? The little gold mouse asked curiously. I asked them to establish this vow only for the sake of giving them a preconceived impression, and make them think that I'm really willing to bring them to the 10,000-year stalactite milk, Duan Lingtian explained via voice transmission. Otherwise, if I don't make them establish the vow, they might think that I'm playing some sort of trick. In that way, it wouldn't be easy to implement my plan. Plan? The little gold mouse's voice transmission was filled with a bewilderment. You'll know very soon. Duan Lingtian's voice transmission was filled with mystery. The little gold mouse lay on Duan Lingtian's shoulder, and her pair of jade green eyes flickered with slight anticipation. We've already established the vow, now you can take us to the 10,000-year stalactite milk, right? Tang Huo asked Duan Lingtian with a low voice. Duan Lingtian, don't think of playing any tricks, otherwise, I'll surely kill you. Zhao Ming spoke out in a timely manner that was in perfect harmony with Tang Huo. What tricks can I play? Duan Lingtian shrugged. Both of you are 6th-level void initiation stage experts. Could it be that you're afraid that a little 1st-level void prying stage martial artist will play tricks on you? Subsequently, under Duan Lingtian's directions, Tang Huo and Zhao Ming carried him along as they flew at full speed towards northwest. After they arrived nearby the ancient city of Everlast, Duan Lingtian pointed towards the north. Over there. Duan Lingtian, it's the territory of the Darkstone Empire ahead, are you sure the 10,000-year stalactite milk is in the Darkstone Empire? Tang Huo looked at Duan Lingtian with slight doubt. Elder Huo, if you don't believe me, then you can kill me right now. How about it? Duan Lingtian spoke indifferently. Tang Huo instantly went silent. The corners of Duan Lingtian's mouth curled into a wisp of disdain. So what if you're a 6th level void initiation stage martial artist? Aren't you being completely played by me? When I was at the Crimson Sky Kingdom the last time, I almost forgot that place. If I thought of it at that time, even if that mysterious expert wasn't there, I would be able to escape them as well. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Duan Lingtian was convinced that once Tang Huo and Zhao Ming were trapped in that place, they would most likely be trapped to death. Phoenix Nest City. In next to no time, Duan Lingtian was carried by Tang Huo and Zhao Ming to flash past in the sky above Phoenix Nest City. I wonder if Tian Wu, City Governor Feng, Elder Kong, and Grandma Shu have already left, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Not long after, under the guidance of Duan Lingtian, Tang Huo and Zhao Ming carried Duan Lingtian to descend in a spacious gorge. Within the forge was a ball of gas that were like clouds and mist that had fathered together, and the condition within it couldn't be seen clearly. What place is this? Zhao Ming and Tang Huo curiously sized up the surroundings. In the end, their gazes descended onto the ball of mist and clouds that was before them. The clouds and mist revealed various mysteriousness that caused them to feel it wasn't simple. Elder Tang Huo, you can let me go now, right? If you don't let me go, how do I lead the way? Duan Lingtian looked at the hand Tang Huo held his shoulder with and spoke indifferently. Tang Huo instead disregarded him. Then you can go look for it yourself. Duan Lingtian shrugged and had an expression of being indifferent and not anxious. Duan Lingtian, I hope you don't play tricks on us. Otherwise, you ought to know the consequences. Tang Huo threatened with a low voice. At the same time, he relaxed the hand that grabbed onto Duan Lingtian's shoulder. Even if I want to play tricks on the two of you, I need to have the strength to do it, Duan Lingtian said indifferently. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian noticed that Zhao Ming had approached the ball of cloud and mist ahead, and a wisp of disdain couldn't help but appear on the corners of his mouth. Unless Zhao Ming was an inscription master as well, otherwise, don't hope of recognizing that inscription formation. Inscription formation. This place was precisely the place Duan Lingtian had come to with Feng Wudao, Feng Tianwu, and Elder Kong. That ball of cloud and mist was precisely an inscription formation. And the former Soul Cleanse pool was within the inscription formation. However, because the nether soul fruit was already eaten by Little Gold, that pool of water had become ordinary water. Squeak squeak, the little gold mouse stood on Duan Lingtian's shoulder and cried out lightly, then said via voice transmission. Big brother Lingtian, why did you bring them here? You little fellow, you still can't guess what I want to do. Duan Lingtian said via voice transmission, you're too stupid. Squeak squeak, the little gold mouse was instantly unhappy when she heard Duan Lingtian. Elders, please follow me. Duan Lingtian called out to Tang Huo and Zhao Ming, then walked over to the ball of clouds and mist with large strides, intending to enter into it. HMPH. That place can't be entered at all. Zhao Ming couldn't help but laugh in ridicule when he saw Duan Lingtian's actions. Earlier, he tried to walk into the ball of clouds and mist, yet he noticed that there was a shapeless energy blocking him out. It was as even someone had set some sort of restriction here. But in the next moment, he was completely dumbstruck when he saw the ball of mist and clouds actually split open when Duan Lingtian walked over with large strides. What's going on? Tang Huo was stunned as well. He naturally didn't know that the ball of clouds and mist was the image formed by the inscription formation. Whereas at this moment, it was precisely Duan Lingtian who'd stretched his spiritual force out and successfully opened the inscription formation. Elders, the 10,000-year stalactite milk is inside. Duan Lingtian walked first into the mist and clouds that had split open, and his figure slowly fused into the dusky and light mist. When they saw Duan Lingtian vanish before their eyes. Let's go in, Tang Huo called Zhao Ming and the two of them followed in. After the two of them entered, they were stunned on the spot. Their faces were filled with surprise as they looked at the spacious lake before them. Both of them never imagined that there was actually such a scene behind the ball of clouds and mist within the gorge. At this moment, they completely didn't notice that the clouds and mist behind them was swiftly closing, and it completely closed together not long after. Whereas beside them, a wisp of a grin appeared on the corners of Duan Lingtian's mouth, and he took 2 steps back. In the next moment, whirlwind, At almost the instant Duan Lingtian's figure moved and charged towards the clouds and mist, an exit that would only accommodate him appeared there. Swoosh! Duan Lingtian seemed to have transformed into a gust of wind as he passed through the exit and charged out to return to the gorge. Whereas meanwhile, that exit instantly closed. Meanwhile, Tang Huo and Zhao Ming, who were within the inscription formation behind the cloud and mist, both jolted awake from their shock. Duan Lingtian has fled. The two of them went gloomy and their figure flashed out to arrive at the spot Duan Lingtian stood at before he fled. They wanted to go out from here, yet they noticed a shapeless energy sealing them within and causing them to be unable to go out. Damn it, we've been played by that Duan Lingtian. Tang Huo was slightly exasperated. Duan Lingtian. Zhao Ming let out an alarmed shout, and the origin energy on his body skyrocketed. A spirit sword appeared out of thin air within his hand, then his fifth-level wind concept fluxed as he stabbed towards the barrier before him that was formed from the shapeless energy. Bang! However, only a muffled sound sounded out in reply to Zhao Ming's attack. Zhao Ming was unable to break open the barrier condensed from the shapeless energy when exerting his full strength. 524 Chapter 525, continuing the assignment. What kind of FC King place is this? Zhao Ming's face was grim. From the beginning until the end, Tang Huo had been watching Zhao Ming's actions. He's originally thought that when Zhao Ming attacked with full force, Zhao Ming would be able to easily obliterate the barrier condensed from the shapeless energy. However, the outcome instead exceeded his expectations. Zhao Ming's full force strike was actually unable to blast open this barrier. Zhao Ming, let's join forces. Tang Huo shouted out coldly, and his face was filled with visible rage. He never expected that he, who'd lived for more than half his life, was actually tricked by a little fellow around the age of 20. This was absolutely a terrible humiliation. All right, Zhao Ming replied. Subsequently, the two great 6th-level Void Initiation stage experts joined forces to blast towards a point on the barrier before them. However, the outcome was the same. The barrier didn't budge an inch. Damn it, how did Duan Lingtian go out? Zhao Ming gnashed his teeth as he spoke. He rushed out from here, I didn't notice exactly how he went out. Tang Huo's expression was extremely unsightly as well. Let's look around and see if there's an exit. Subsequently, Tang Huo and Zhao Ming looked around, intending to find an exit. In the end, they instead noticed that the lake they were at was completely enveloped by the barrier formed from the shapeless energy. That barrier had even pierced deep into the ground, and it caused them to be unable to dig a way out. Damn it, exactly what sort of FC King place is this? How exactly is that layer of barrier formed? Zhao Ming had an exasperated expression. Subsequently, Zhao Ming looked at Tang Hu and was almost roaring. It's all because of you. All of this wouldn't have happened if we killed Duan Lingtian directly. Tang Huo's face sank. Zhao Ming, you get it straight, if it wasn't for you coveting the 10,000-year stalactite milk as well, would you let me keep him alive? After all is said and done, all this is because of our greed. Greed. Zhao Ming's figure shook and he was at a loss of what to say. That's right, if it wasn't for me being greedy towards the 10,000-year stalactite milk Duan Lingtian spoke of, all this wouldn't have occurred. At this moment, he felt extreme regret. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Once I go out, I'll surely burn Duan Lingtian's bones and scatter his ashes. I, Zhao Ming, don't want any 10,000-year stalactite milk anymore. Zhao Ming spoke with an unsightly expression. HMPH. It's uncertain whether we're able to go out now, but, if we're able to go out, I won't allow Duan Lingtian to live before me for a moment longer. Tang Huo was enraged as well, and his eyes burned with extreme flames of rage. Within the inscription formation, Tang Huo and Zhao Ming were exasperated. Whereas outside the inscription formation, on a large tree in the spacious gorge, Duan Lingtian lay on the tree with his leg crossed over the other as he cozily bathed under the sun. Big brother Lingtian, you're too bad, you actually tricked them to come here. The little gold mouse stood on the tree trunk, and her body swung up and down like a swing. Bad. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled, then extended his hand to block out the burning sun. If I didn't do this, I'll be killed by them sooner or later, even if I really take them to the 10,000-year stalactite milk on Megrez Peak, they'd abide by the vow and let me off for a time, but it wouldn't be long before they'd surely make a move against me once more. Hee, I was curious earlier about why Big Brother Lingtian would bring them here. So it turned out that it was to trap them. The little gold mouse's jade green eyes flickered with a cunning smile. They can only blame themselves for being unfortunate. The corners of Duan Lingtian's mouth curved slightly, and a wisp of disdain appeared. The things that happened today were smooth, to the point it caused him to feel slight disbelief. Of course, he knew that all this was because Tang Huo and Zhao Ming didn't have any knowledge towards the Tao of inscriptions. Otherwise, they wouldn't be tricked easily. Big brother Lingtian, they wouldn't force their way out, right? Should we leave here quickly? The little gold mouse's voice transmission contained fear mixed within. No matter if it was Tang Huo or Zhao Ming, they were both 6th level void initiation stage experts, and they were far from someone she could go against. There's no need. The senior that left that inscription formation behind is in existence at the void transformation stage or above. Duan Lingtian shook his head. Unless a void transformation stage expert lends a hand, or perhaps a few experts at the 7th level of the void interpretation stage and above joined forces, otherwise, don't dream of breaking open this inscription formation. Then wouldn't that mean that they'd be trapped to death within it? The little gold mouse said in shock. If nothing unexpected happened, they'd surely be trapped to death within it. Of course, if they're able to find that abode and obtain the experiences in the Tao of inscriptions left behind by that senior, they might have a chance of breaking open the formation and leaving, Duan Lingtian said slowly. They have a chance to come out. The little gold mouse was slightly afraid. Don't worry, the Tao of inscriptions is greatly profound. They'd at least need to spend over 10 years of study to have some accomplishments in the Tao of inscriptions and obtain the ability to break open the formation. Duan Lingtian wasn't worried in the slightest. If I'm still afraid of them after over 10 years, then I can directly kill them myself. Over 10 years, not to mention over 10 years, even if it was the martial competition of the 10 dynasties that was 4 years from now. If he didn't have a cultivation at the 7th level of the void initiation stage or above, it would probably even be difficult for him to become eminent. The little gold mouse eased up when she heard this. I'll go bid my farewells to them, then we'll return to Blackwind Ridge. No matter what, I must obtain the most points in the mission this time. Only the person that is ranked number 1 is able to obtain the void refining fruit. Duan Lingtian stood up and his gaze descended onto the ball of mist and clouds in the gorge. Subsequently, his spiritual force fused into it, and he opened a tiny gap on the inscription formation. Next, his voice transmission passed through the inconspicuous little gap and entered into the ears of Tang Huo and Zhao Ming who were trapped within. Elder Tang Huo, Elder Zhao Ming, the both of you can live in seclusion in there in the future. There are many fishes in the lake and it ought to not cause the two of you to die from starvation, ha 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 ha. Duan Lingtian's voice transmission was filled with ridicule. Whereas at the instant that Duan Lingtian's voice transmission was severed by the little gap on the inscription formation that had closed up. Duan Lingtian, Tang Huo and Zhao Ming's flames of rage was lighted by Duan Lingtian once more. However, it was useless no matter how they vented. They weren't able to forcefully break open the inscription formation in the end. Little gold, let's go. Whereas at this moment, Duan Lingtian sat onto the back of the little gold mouse that had enlarged herself and headed towards the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. Presently, the little gold mouse wasn't the little gold mouse of the past. As a demon beast whose cultivation had broken through to the 7th level of the void prying stage, the little gold mouse's speed was extremely swift. Only 3 days had passed when she'd brought Duan Lingtian back to Blackwind Ridge. That two old fellows have wasted so much of my time. I wonder if there are people who have surpassed my previous points. Duan Lingtian muttered and he had an unhappy expression. If Duan Lingtian's muttering was heard by Tang Huo and Zhao Ming who were trapped in the inscription formation, their expressions would surely be extremely brilliant. The urgent task at hand is to find Vice Dean Kai Ming first, otherwise, if there's no one to record my score, it would be useless no matter how many bandits I kill. After spending half a day of time, Duan Lingtian had finally found Kai Ming. When he found Kai Ming was sighing. Vice Dean Kai. Kai Ming's thoughts that had drifted away were pulled back when Duan Lingtian called out to him. Duan Lingtian. Kai Ming was completely dumbstruck when he saw Duan Lingtian. At the beginning, he even thought that he was seeing things, but before long, he confirmed it. The person that stood before him was indeed Duan Lingtian himself, without a doubt. Duan Lingtian, how did you escape from the hands of those two old fellows? Kai Ming asked curiously. It's a long story, I'll slowly tell Vice Dean when I have time in the future. Now that I speak of it, they've already wasted 3 days of my time. Vice Dean Kai, are there people who have surpassed my points now? Duan Lingtian asked. Yes. Kai Ming nodded and said slowly, "Not long ago, crazy young master found the lair of the 7th leader of the bandits like you did, and killed all 50+ bandits. Besides that, the 7th leader was a martial artist at the 2nd level of the void prying stage." 7th leader, 50+ bandits. Duan Lingtian's pupils constricted as he sighed in surprise. "I never imagined that crazy young master's luck was so good. The 7th leader was at the 2nd level of the void prying stage, and he was equivalent to 30 points, then adding on another 50+ bandits to that. It's very likely that crazy young master's points now have already passed 200. Duan Lingtian felt pressure. "Vice Dean Kai, I want to continue," said Duan Lingtian to Kai Ming. Kai Ming nodded. "Go." Kai Ming had a complicated gaze as he looked at Duan Lingtian transforming into a bolt of violet lightning and vanishing before him. Duan Lingtian's sudden return had exceeded his expectations. "Now, I'm slightly hoping that this Duan Lingtian is able to seize the first in the experience mission this time. If he gets to consume that void refining fruit, his cultivation would transcend above all the inner hall students." At the same time that Kai Ming followed Duan Lingtian, his gaze flickered. "Moreover, he's extremely mysterious, perhaps he even possesses many abilities that are beyond others' expectations." The reason Kai Ming guessed like this was because Duan Lingtian was able to shake off the 2 guardian elders of the Azure Forest Trisect and return safely. After all, those 2 guardian elders of the Azure Forest Trisect were 6th level void initiation stage experts, and being able to return under their gazes was sufficient to show how extraordinary Duan Lingtian was. Perhaps Duan Lingtian can represent our Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom to become eminent on the Darkstone Empire's stage and obtain the qualifications to head to the Darken Dynasty to compete with the young geniuses of the Darken Dynasty and the various empires. When he thought up to here, Kai Ming felt a wave of excitement. "Duan Lingtian, I hope you can go even further and create a legend of our Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. A young expert that is able to compare with the most outstanding young geniuses of the Darken Dynasty has never appeared in our Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom." Kai Ming followed behind Duan Lingtian like a shadow. He was looking forward to Duan Lingtian obtaining the most points and winning the first in the experience missions this time. 525 Chapter 526, Taking Revenge. Kai Ming believed that under the boost of the void refining fruit, Duan Lingtian would be able to go higher and further. Duan Lingtian naturally didn't know of Kai Ming's thoughts. Presently, he was searching for the tracks of the bandits on Blackwind Ridge as if he'd gone mad. Whoosh! Not only was Duan Lingtian searching, the little gold mouse was helping him search as well. The little gold mouse was unable to help Duan Lingtian kill the bandits, but helping Duan Lingtian find the bandits before Duan Lingtian attacked them himself was possible. This was something that even Kai Ming didn't say anything about. After all, this didn't count as breaking the rules. The mission this time was only for a duration of half a month. Where 4 days had already passed, and only 11 remained. After searching for 3 days, Duan Lingtian didn't discover the tracks of a single bandit. No matter if he searched on the ground or searched by looking down from high above in the sky. Unfortunately, the area my spiritual force can extend out is limited. If my spiritual force was able to cover the entire Blackwind Ridge, then those bandits would surely have no way to hide. Of course, Duan Lingtian was only thinking. The Blackwind Ridge was so large that even Rebirth Martial Emperor at his prime all those years ago, would perhaps be able to cover it completely when he used his spiritual force to search it. But the Rebirth Martial Emperor was in existence at the Martial Emperor stage during his prime. Presently, not to mention the highest known cultivation stage in Cloud Continent, the Martial Emperor stage, Duan Lingtian was even quite a distance away from the Void Initiation stage. Suddenly, the movement ahead attracted Duan Lingtian's attention. Duan Lingtian approached and looked from afar, and he noticed a few familiar figures. These few people weren't bandits, yet Duan Lingtian sank slightly. Lu Yu. The people that had appeared in Duan Lingtian's field of vision was precisely the people from the Azure Forest Trisect. When he recalled Tang Huo and Zhao Ming, and recalled the 7-star sword sect disciples that had died at the hands of these people on that day, Duan Lingtian's chest was almost filled by flames of rage. Vice Deal Kai. Duan Lingtian didn't move to meet Lu Yu's group, nor did he let the void prying stage martial artist behind Lu Yu's group, and he concealed himself at a side first. What? Kai Ming was slightly puzzled when he heard Duan Lingtian's voice transmission. Those Azure Forest Trisect disciples, can you do me a favor? Duan Lingtian's voice transmission was filled with boundless killing intent. Kai Ming was first stunned when he heard this, then he noticed Lu Yu's group as well. He naturally knew the meaning of Duan Lingtian's words. Duan Lingtian wanted him to take a bribe and allow Duan Lingtian to kill these few Azure Forest Tri-sect disciples. If it was in the past, Kai Ming would directly refuse. But now, when he recalled those two guardian elders of the Azure Forest Tri-sect that didn't respect the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's imperial family, a trace of evil flames couldn't help but emerge within the heart of Kai Ming, who was one of the 5 great revered elders of the imperial family. Kai Ming was a person as well, and he had emotions. Because of the actions of Tang Huo and Zhao Ming a few days ago, he didn't have the slightest favorable impression of the Azure Forest Tri-sect. Moreover, Duan Lingtian had said it clearly now, it was to give him a favor. Perhaps, the favor Duan Lingtian owed was nothing at this moment. But what about in the future? He looked extremely favorably upon Duan Lingtian's future. In the end, Kai Ming gritted his teeth and agreed. Then make it clean, I'll instruct the people that are following behind them to not interfere in the matter between you and them. At this moment, Kai Ming had a slight guilty feeling. But when he recalled Tang Huo and Zhao Ming's arrogance before him, the guilty feeling vanished completely. It wasn't worth for the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's imperial family to protect the members of the Azure Forest Tri-sect. Thank you, Vice Dean Kai, Duan Lingtian is indebted to your favor. Duan Lingtian heaved a sigh of relief when Kai Ming agreed. He was really worried that Kai Ming wouldn't agree. If that was the case, then even if he hated Lu Yu's group to the extreme, he would have no way of doing anything. Of course, he was able to guess that a portion of the reason Kai Ming agreed so readily was surely because of Tang Huo and Zhao Ming capturing Duan Lingtian a few days ago. At that time, Tang Huo and Zhao Ming had caused this vice dean to lose all face. Senior Sister Lu Yu, it has already been 4 days and we haven't even encountered a single bandit, where exactly are they hiding? An Azure Forest Tri-sect disciple smiled bitterly as he looked at Lu Yu. You're asking me, how would I know? Lu Yu said angrily. Senior Sister Lu Yu, don't get angry, so what if we have no gains from coming to Blackwind Ridge this time? Presently, the 2 guardian elders would have probably already killed that Duan Lingtian, and that's a great merit. Another Azure Forest Tri-sect disciple grinned. Right, once Duan Lingtian is dead, the 3 sect leaders will surely be happy. At that time, all of us are people who have rendered meritorious service and will obtain the rewards of the sect. After all, it's we who told the 2 guardian elders of Duan Lingtian's whereabouts. The eyes of the last Azure Forest Tri-sect disciple glowed, and it was as if he'd already seen the rewards bestowed by the sect. Lu Yu's expression eased up slightly when she heard this. Indeed, nothing could be more delightful than this. When she thought of how Duan Lingtian was already dead, she couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. A few days ago in the Dragon and Phoenix Academy, the icy cold gaze Duan Lingtian look at her with caused her to have nightmares successively for a few days. In those nightmares, she was killed by Duan Lingtian several times. I can finally have a good night's sleep tonight. Lu Yu was rather happy in her heart, and the depression from being unable to find a bandit was completely tossed to the back of her head. It really was all of you that leaked the news. It was at this moment that a voice that was like a ghost caused the expression of Lu Yu's group to go grim. Especially Lu Yu, this voice was one she'd heard countless times during her dreams in these past few days. Of course, they were all nightmares. Duan Lingtian had approached Lu Yu's group since long ago, and he'd clearly heard what Lu Yu and the others had said. He was originally suspicious that it was Lu Yu's group that had leaked the matter of the experience missions in Blackwind Ridge. Presently, Lu Yu's group had admitted it themselves. So Tang Huo and Zhao Ming were brought over by them. Duan Lingtian, you can deal with this matter however you want. Right at this moment, a voice transmission entered into Duan Lingtian's ears, and it contained traces of rage mixed within. It was precisely Kai Ming. Obviously, Kai Ming had heard the conversation of the Azure Forest Tri-sect disciples. Whoosh! As soon as Duan Lingtian's finished speaking, his figure moved to appear before Lu Yu's group. Squeak squeak, the jade green eyes of the little gold mouse on Duan Lingtian's shoulder flickered with cold lights as she stared at Lu Yu's group. Duan Lingtian. Besides Lu Yu, who was mentally prepared, the other 3 Azure Forest Tri-sect disciples went pale when they saw Duan Lingtian. What we said earlier was heard by Duan Lingtian. Also, Duan Lingtian actually didn't die. Could it be that the 2 guardian elders haven't made a move? Lu Yu, and you three, you killed the disciples of my 7-star sword sect that day, and owe my 7-star sword sect numerous debts of blood. Today, the time for payback has come. Duan Lingtian stared coldly at Lu Yu's group, and he spoke indifferently. His words didn't contain any emotions. However, anyone would be able to feel the killing intent that swept out from Duan Lingtian. Along with the terrifying killing intent on Duan Lingtian's body sweeping out, it enveloped onto Lu Yu's group and caused all their faces to go pale. Duan Lingtian's killing intent was obtained from his career of bloodshed in his previous life. How would it be something that Lu Yu's group was able to endure? Duan Lingtian. Don't you forget that we're undergoing the experience mission of the Dragon and Phoenix Academy, and there's someone following behind us to record our score. The Academy won't let you off if you dare kill us. Lu Yu took a deep breath, and she could feel her heartbeat ceaselessly increasing in speed. Really? Duan Lingtian started laughing. Are you sure the Academy won't let me off? Duan Lingtian's words caused Lu Yu's group to become absent-minded. It was at this instant that Duan Lingtian attacked. Tempest Point. Duan Lingtian pointed out with his finger, and a material point force condensed from origin energy howled as it flew out. Swish! A piercing howl sounded out and an Azure Forest Trisect disciple beside Lu Yu directly fell to the ground. On his head, a savage bloody hole had appeared, and blood flowed endlessly from it. Ah! One of their fellow disciples from the same sect was killed, and it terrified Lu Yu's group to the point their faces instantly went ghastly pale. Duan Lingtian, you really dared kill him. Lu Yu's voice was slightly trembling. As far as she was concerned, Duan Lingtian was simply a madman. But in next to no time, when she noticed that there was no movement behind her, terror appeared on the faces of Lu Yu and the others. Where's the person from the Academy? Isn't there someone following us to record our scores? The three of them took the person from the Academy that recorded their scores as their life-saving straw. However, that person of the Dragon and Phoenix Academy didn't appear. When Duan Lingtian saw Lu Yu's group looking left and right, he said in ridicule, "You don't have to look, all of you are bound to die for nothing here." After the experience mission ends, the Dragon and Phoenix Academy will announce that the disciples of the Azure Forest Trisect didn't heed advice and wandered arbitrarily in the Blackwind Ridge before disappearing. The expressions of Lu Yu's group went deathly pale. Swish! Duan Lingtian pointed out once more, and the point force condensed from origin energy howled as it killed another Azure Forest Trisect disciple. It pierced through between the brows again, a similar death with the previous Azure Forest Trisect disciple. After killing two Azure Forest Trisect disciples successively, Duan Lingtian's expression remained expressionless from the beginning until the end. These two Azure Forest Trisect disciples had killed countless 7-star sword sect disciples on that day. Today, he was only making them repay their debts of blood with blood. Flee! Besides Lu Yu, the last remaining Azure Forest Trisect disciple had a ghastly pale expression when he saw two of his senior brothers falling to the ground, and he turned around and fled. But could he flee? After all, even Lu Yu couldn't arouse the thought to flee now. Because Lu Yu knew that it was impossible for them to flee under Duan Lingtian's eyes. Flee! When Duan Lingtian saw the Azure Forest Trisect disciple turn around intending to flee to the distance, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl into a sneer. Tempest Point! With a raise of his hand, 2 point forces condensed from origin energy whistled out and hit directly on the legs of the Azure Forest Trisect disciple. Bang! The body of the Azure Forest Trisect disciple who had 2 bloody holes pierced on his legs shook before his body crashed to the ground. He fell near Lu Yu. "Senior sister, save me." The Azure Forest Trisect disciple struggled to stretch out his hand and grab onto Lu Yu's legs, then said in panic, "Senior sister, I don't want to die, I don't want to die." Lu Yu had a bitter expression on her face. Save. Presently, she was hardly able to protect herself, let alone save another. 526 Chapter 527, Good luck. You don't want to die. Duan Lingtian glanced coldly and indifferently at the Azure Forest Trisect disciple by Lu Yu's feet, then ridiculed. Do you think that the 7-star sword sect disciples that died at your hand wanted to die? The Azure Forest Trisect disciple's figure trembled when he heard Duan Lingtian, then he turned to lie before Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, let me off, let me off. I beg you, I beg you. Those 7-star sword sect disciples that died at your hand, at the instant they were killed by you, they similarly despaired like you are now. If you have a second lifetime, remember well, when you've done something bad, you have to return what you owe sooner or later. Duan Lingtian glanced in disgust at this Azure Forest Tri-sect disciple, then he abruptly raised his hand. Tempest Point. The exceedingly condensed origin energy point force flashed out. In the next moment, the sounds of begging of the Azure Forest Tri-sect disciple came to an abrupt stop. Bang! His figure crashed to the ground and he was devoid of any further movement. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian's gaze descended onto Lu Yu. Duan Lingtian, it's useless even if you kill me now, the two guardian elders of our Azure Forest Tri-sect have already found out of your whereabouts, you're dead. Lu Yu realized that danger was imminent, and she directly tore off all pretenses and was without any worries. You're talking about Tang Huo and Zhao Ming? Duan Lingtian couldn't help but laugh. I'm afraid I have to disappoint you, Tang Huo and Zhao Ming already found me 4 days ago. No, impossible. Lu Yu's complacent smile instantly froze, then she was almost roaring. You're lying, you're surely lying. As far as she was concerned, if the two guardian elders found Duan Lingtian 4 days ago, then it would be impossible for Duan Lingtian to be standing here now. She didn't believe what Duan Lingtian said. Lying, do you think there's any need for that? Duan Lingtian smiled extremely brilliantly. Lu Yu's figure shook. Right, Duan Lingtian seems to have no need to lie to me. But she was unable to wrap her head around it. How exactly did this Duan Lingtian escape this calamity? Unfortunately, Lu Yu would never find out. Swish! Duan Lingtian's origin energy point force tore through the sky, and it easily entered between Lu Yu's brows. When facing Duan Lingtian, Lu Yu didn't have the slightest ability to resist. Bang! Lu Yu's corpse fell down, dying without peace. At this moment, Duan Lingtian felt as if he was worlds apart when he recalled the scene of meeting Lu Yu for the first time in the demonic Lotus Blade sect all those years ago. Knowing that Kai Ming was concealed nearby, Duan Lingtian didn't utilize his pill fire or weapon flame. He casually took out a fire piston and burnt the corpses of all the Azure Forest Tri-sect disciples. It wasn't long before the 4 of them had completely vanished from this world. From the beginning until the end, Duan Lingtian had a calm expression as he watched, and his gaze didn't contain the slightest emotion. Azure Forest Tri-sect, this is only the beginning. When he recalled the horrifying scene of the former 7-star sword sect being slaughtered, the killing intent deep within Duan Lingtian's eyes was awe-inspiring. Vice Dean Kai, thank you. After a short moment, Duan Lingtian came back to his senses, then thanked Kai Ming via voice transmission. If it wasn't for Kai Ming, it would be impossible for him to take revenge for his fellow disciples that had died. He's remembered this favor in his heart. Subsequently, Duan Lingtian's figure moved to flash out. There's still another 8 days of time, I must find the next bandit lair. According to Duan Lingtian's knowledge, the pack of bandits that were the target of the experience mission of the Dragon and Phoenix Academy this time was divided into 9 groups, and they were scattered all around Blackwind Ridge. They were respectively led by a bandit leader. The group of bandits that were led by the 9th leader was annihilated by Duan Lingtian a few days ago. Besides that, Crazy Young Master had annihilated the group of bandits led by the 7th leader. As of now, there were another 7 groups remaining. Needless to say, Duan Lingtian's luck was good. 2 hours later, he encountered a middle-aged man that was entering the Blackwind Ridge from outside. The middle-aged man wore the clothes of an ordinary village, his figure thin and small, and he was cautious all along his way. There's something strange about this person. Duan Lingtian concealed himself at the side and his eyes focused on the man. As a mercenary who'd walked out of mountains of corpses and rivers of blood in his previous life, Duan Lingtian had an especially acute sense of smell towards blood. Presently, he'd smelled an extremely dense smell of blood from this thin and small middle-aged man. He could be sure that this person that wore the clothes of a villager was absolutely not an ordinary villager. What a joke! This smell of blood on this person was at least achieved from killing over 100 people. If nothing unexpected happens, he should be a bandit without a doubt. Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed as he silently followed from behind. Squeak squeak, the little gold mouse on Duan Lingtian's shoulder cried out. Big brother Lingtian, isn't he a villager? Why are you following him? The little gold mouse had followed Duan Lingtian when he wandered about to gain experience and tempering for some time, and her experience wasn't inferior to a human, so she recognized the middle-aged man's clothes with a glance. Villager. Duan Lingtian shook his head. Little gold, you'll know soon. Under the little gold mouse's bewildered gaze, Duan Lingtian followed the thin and small middle-aged man to pass through a dense forest. Needless to say, this thin and small middle-aged man was exceedingly cautious. He took numerous circles before walking back. In next to no time, Duan Lingtian followed the thin and small middle-aged man to walk into a small gorge. The surrounding walls of the small gorge were overgrown with weeds, and some weed were even taller than a person. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian's eyes squinted and he had a surprised expression. Nearby, the small and thin middle-aged man pulled open the weeds that were taller than a person, then his entire body was concealed within it and vanished. Squeak squeak, the little gold mouse cried out and asked Duan Lingtian via voice transmission. Big brother Lingtian, where is he? Let's go. Duan Lingtian used his actions to respond to the little gold mouse. Duan Lingtian lifted apart the weeds at the place that the thin and small middle-aged man lifted open the weeds. A cave passageway that could accommodate one person to move in and out appeared before Duan Lingtian's eyes. It's really concealed. If I came looking for it myself, I'd surely be unable to find this place. Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed as he brought along the little gold mouse to enter the pitch-black cave passageway. Not long after, a small dot of light appeared at the other end of the cave passageway. Along with Duan Lingtian walking forward with large strides, the small dot of light became larger and larger, and an exit appeared before Duan Lingtian's eyes. Duan Lingtian walked out the exit and looked out. An enormous cave that was brightly illuminated by lamps appeared before his eyes. Around this enormous cave was 50 or 60 small caves, and it was a peculiar scene. Within the enormous cave, along with the return of the thin and small middle-aged man, a group of people walked out of the small caves and all of them looked excitedly at him. Thin monkey, what's the condition like outside? An emaciated old man walked out of a cave at the center, and the old man's voice was hoarse and unpleasant. Sixth leader. The old man's appearance caused the group of people including the small and thin middle-aged man to greet him respectfully. Sixth leader. Duan Lingtian's eyes shone. Although he guessed that the thin and small middle-aged man was a member of the bandits, Duan Lingtian never expected that there actually was such a big fish behind him. Let's see what his cultivation is like, Duan Lingtian thought in his heart and stretched his spiritual force out. After a short amount of time, under the detection of his spiritual force, the cultivations of the bandits were unable to escape his detection. The sixth leader of the bandits was a second-level void-prying stage martial artist. Besides the sixth leader, there was another first-level void-prying stage bandit. As for the other people, they were all martial artists below the void-prying stage and were of no threat to Duan Lingtian. The second level of the void-prying stage is able to exert the strength of 3,000 ancient mammoths. His spirit weapon ought to be a grade 7 spirit weapon. Duan Lingtian started to calculate the strengths of himself and the enemy. When utilizing a grade 7 spirit weapon, his offensive capability wouldn't surpass the strength of 3,800 ancient mammoths. Whereas I possess a strength comparable to the strength of 2,000 ancient mammoths, and when amplified via my grade 4 spirit sword, my offensive capability is able to arrive at the strength of 3,200 ancient mammoths. If force is not considered, I'm inferior to him. Whereas in terms of force, unless he has comprehended a half-step advanced force, otherwise, it's impossible for him to compare to me. He looks to be extremely old and probably doesn't have any comprehension ability, so it isn't likely that he's able to comprehend half-step advanced force. When he thought up to here, cold lights flashed within Duan Lingtian's eyes. In other words, it isn't difficult for me to kill him. Whereas while Duan Lingtian's thoughts were spinning. Sixth leader, it's calm and tranquil outside, and I didn't notice anything off. Besides that, I noticed a village that not only has plenty of food, there's also plenty of women. As the small and thin middle-aged man finished speaking, a smile of lust appeared on his face. Women. Instantly, the gazes of the other bandits lit up brightly. Damn it, I've been holding back for a month, I must sleep with a few more this time. Many bandits wished for nothing more than to kill their way into that village. Slaughter the village, seize the food, and steal the women. Thin monkey, you've done well. After we deal with that village, I'll let you choose the women first. The sixth leader nodded in satisfaction. Thank you, sixth leader. The thin and small middle-aged bandit had an excited expression. The other bandits instead had expressions of envy and jealousy. Sixth elder, when are we leaving? A man with a saber scar on his face had eyes that emitted light. All of you don't have to leave anymore. The sixth leader hadn't even had the time to respond when a cold and indifferent voice suddenly sounded out and resounded within the entire cave. "Who is it?" The sixth leader was the first to react, and his face became grim. Whereas at the instant the sixth leader spoke. Swish! A violet-colored sword light that was difficult to perceive tore through the sky, and it tore through the night sky like a swift shooting star. Ku, the man with a saber scar on his face that asked the sixth leader the question earlier, didn't even have the time to react when his throat was pierced by a sword, and fresh blood splattered out. Dead. The person that attacked was naturally Duan Lingtian. After killing this first-level void-prying stage bandit, only the second-level void-prying stage sixth leader remains. When Duan Lingtian withdrew his sword, he heard the sixth leader's alarmed shout. Whirlwind. After succeeding, Duan Lingtian didn't hesitate in the slightest, and he seemed to have transformed into a gust of wind that blew towards the sixth leader. Duan Lingtian, who exploded out with his entire strength and stood on half-step advanced wind force and half-step advanced lightning force, arrived before the sixth leader in an instant. "You're courting death." The sixth leader was in a violent rage. Wish a raise of his hand, the origin energy on his saber rages and elementary saber force suffused it. Ohm! The saber tore through the sky as it slashed towards Duan Lingtian. Under the fueling of the strength of 4,000 ancient mammoth, the saber's speed was extremely swift. But unfortunately, Duan Lingtian's sword was even swifter. Sword drawing arts. At almost the exact same instant that the sixth leader attacked, Duan Lingtian made his move. 527. Chapter 528. Minimum 60% amplification. Swish! A sword light that was swift to the limit flashed. Right at this instant, 4,200 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form above Duan Lingtian. Besides the white color that belonged to origin energy, there was another strand of violet and a strand of azure within the sword light. This sword strike of Duan Lingtian's contained the 60% amplification of the grade 4 spirit sword that amplified his base strength of 2,000 ancient mammoths. The amplification was the strength of 1,200 ancient mammoth silhouettes. Besides that, the half-step advanced lightning force and half-step advanced wind force bestowed the strength of 1,000 ancient mammoths onto Duan Lingtian. In total, it was the strength of 4,200 ancient mammoths. In terms of strength, he was even stronger than the bandit's sixth leader. Most importantly, the sword-drawing arts that Duan Lingtian had executed now was originally adept at speed. His strength was stronger than the sixth leader, combined with the speed of his sword-drawing arts. The speed of the sword in Duan Lingtian's hand completely crushed the speed of the saber in the hands of the sixth leader. Swish! A clear sound resounded out, and practically all the bandits present didn't see Duan Lingtian's movements clearly. Whirlwind! Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian's figure flashed to dodge to the side. Whereas the sword in the hand of sixth leader fiercely flashed towards the place Duan Lingtian was standing earlier. But his movements still didn't change in the slightest even after Duan Lingtian had left the spot. Of course, it wasn't that the reaction of sixth leader was slow, but was instead that a fine rip had appeared on the throat of the sixth leader, and then it started to spew out dazzling and resplendent blood. Blood splattered all over the floor and seemed to have transformed into numerous red roses. Clang! The sixth leader and his saber were carried away fiercely by momentum, and they scraped the floor all the way. After a short moment, the sixth leader lay there on the ground and was completely devoid of any signs of life. Dead. Silent. The spacious cave was deathly silent as all the bandits were dumbstruck. In the blink of an eye, the sixth leader that was the strongest amongst them and the first-level void-prying stage bandit that was the sixth leader's right-hand man were both killed, and the scene before them almost made them unable to recover from their shock. After a short while, the bandits all went ghastly pale after they recovered from their shock. Flee, flee, comma. When facing the violet-clothed young man that had killed two void-prying stage experts in the blink of an eye, they didn't have the slightest battle intent and only thought of fleeing this place right away. But would they be able to flee? Swish, 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 comma. Along with the grade 4 spirit sword in Duan Lingtian's hand flashing, the bandits perished beneath his sword one after the other. Lord, spare me, Lord, comma. The numerous bandits pleaded for mercy ceaselessly. But Duan Lingtian was currently like a bloodthirsty asura that had crawled out from hell, and he reaped the lives of the bandits to his heart's content. Not long after, the spacious cave had returned to calm, as all the bandits were dead. Grade 4 Spirit Sword. Kai Minghood followed Duan Lingtian in and was concealed at the side long ago had finally recovered from his shock. When Duan Lingtian attacked and killed the sixth leader, he'd guessed that the spirit sword in Duan Lingtian's hand might be a grade 4 spirit sword. But he didn't dare confirm his suspicions. After all, a grade 4 spirit sword was too shocking. Normally speaking, a grade 4 weapons craftsman was only present within those dynasties. Moreover, they were exceedingly rare. Duan Lingtian knows a grade 4 weapons craftsman. Kai Ming was greatly shocked, and he gasped in his heart. As far as he was concerned, since Duan Lingtian had a grade 4 spirit sword in his possession, it meant that Duan Lingtian had a good relationship with a grade 4 weapons craftsman. I originally thought he was only a 7-star sword sect disciple. I never imagined that he was related to a grade 4 weapons craftsman. Kai Ming sighed in his heart. Vice Dean Kai, please do the count. After he put away all the spoils of the battle, Duan Lingtian's gaze shot onto Kai Ming once more. Subsequently, Duan Lingtian left the cave and followed along the passageway to arrive outside. Duan Lingtian wasn't anxious to leave, and he counted his spoils as he waited for Kai Ming. Firstly, Duan Lingtian withdrew the spatial ring of the sixth leader. Similar to the spatial ring of the ninth elder, there was a large amount of gold and silver. But these things didn't have much allure to Duan Lingtian. This is, before long, Duan Lingtian noticed a dim green-colored pearl within the sixth leader's spatial ring. The reason this pearl caught Duan Lingtian's attention was entirely because when Duan Lingtian's spiritual force touched the pearl, a faint fluctuation of spiritual force was transmitted from it. Of course, the spiritual force fluctuation within the pearl was without an owner. What's going on? Not only that, Duan Lingtian also noticed that when his spiritual force touched the dim green pearl, the spiritual force within had actually gradually fused in his spiritual force and ceaselessly strengthened his spiritual force. What exactly is this pearl? Under his curiosity, Duan Lingtian closed his eyes and searched the memories of the rebirth martial emperor to see if there are any record of this pearl. Soul Peel. In next to no time, Duan Lingtian found records relating to this pearl. A soul pearl was in existence similar to a spirit fruit. Ordinarily speaking, if one used special methods to gather the lunar force, then there would be a chance to condense it into a soul pearl after a few tens of years. Lunar force was the energy of the moon in the night sky. The soul pearl was sourced from pure lunar force and it contained spiritual force that was able to easily fuse into the spiritual force of a human. Ordinarily speaking, there are methods to gather lunar force and condense a soul pearl, and an inscription formation is one of those methods. Duan Lingtian thought in his heart. It was precisely because of this that the rebirth martial emperor would know of the existence of soul pearls. During his prime, the rebirth martial emperor had once gathered lunar force with an inscription formation and condensed a soul pearl to bestow upon his personal disciple. A soul pearl was able to improve spiritual force. Although its effects weren't great, it wouldn't be like spirit fruits that have diminishing medicinal effect after each consumption. So long as one had sufficient soul pearls, one's spiritual force could be improved directly. Of course, a heaven-defying item like a soul peel had some limitations. A soul pearl was at most able to improve the spiritual force of a martial artist or demon beast below the martial monarch stage. Once one's spiritual force stepped into the martial monarch stage, the soul pearl wouldn't have any effect any longer. My spiritual force has broken through. When Duan Lingtian returned to his senses, he noticed that his spiritual force had actually broken through. It had broken through to the third level of the void prying stage. Although it was only the breakthrough of his spiritual force, Duan Lingtian was still wildly happy. Although there were some differences between the characteristics of a soul pearl and a spirit fruit, it was no different to a spirit fruit in pushing forward the level of spiritual force later on. Later on, once my cultivation breaks through to the second level of the void prying stage, my spiritual force will be pushed to the fourth level of the void prying stage. It will forever maintain being 2 levels higher than my cultivation. Duan Lingtian's gaze descended onto the soul pearl. Presently, the dim green-colored soul pearl had become a crystalline and translucent crystal pearl. Pop! It was at this moment that the crystal pearl was enveloped by Duan Lingtian's spiritual force and instantly shattered into bits before vanishing without a trace. As a miraculous item that is able to improve the spiritual force of a void transformation stage expert, the effects of a soul pearl were small as expected. My spiritual force was only at the first level of the void prying stage, and after consuming a soul pearl, it actually only advanced to the third level of the void prying stage. Duan Lingtian sighed in his heart. He could imagine that the higher the level of his spiritual force, he would need to absorb even more soul pearls to break through. I wonder where this sixth leader obtained the soul pearl. Duan Lingtian noticed that there was only one soul pearl within the sixth leader's spatial ring, and it caused him to be unable to help himself from being disappointed. But, my spiritual force advancing to the third level of the void prying stage can be considered to be an unexpected cause for happiness. In next to no time, Duan Lingtian let out a breath of air and he felt he was too greedy. With my current spiritual force, so long as I don't encounter the first leader of these bandits, then even if they were at the third level of the void prying stage, I can use my soul skill, 1000 illusions, to easily obtain victory against the other leaders, as long they aren't inscription masters. When he thought up to here, Duan Lingtian's feelings surged. Meanwhile, Kai Ming walked out from the cave. Vice Dean Kai, how many points did these bandits give me? Duan Lingtian looked at Kai Ming as he asked. Kai Ming looked at Duan Lingtian as if looking at a monster, then said after a short while, 236 points. Coupled with the points from before, 378 points. 378 points. Duan Lingtian nodded. Continue. When he saw Duan Lingtian walk out with large strides, Kai Ming followed as well. Vice Dean Kai, you, Duan Lingtian noticed that Kai Ming didn't conceal himself, and he couldn't help but be slightly curious. At the same time, he noticed that Kai Ming had something difficult to voice out. Vice Dean Kai, speak frankly if you have anything you want to say. Duan Lingtian smiled. He owed Kai Ming a favor, and he remembered it in his heart. As far as he was concerned, if he had the opportunity to return the favor earlier, he would be able to feel slightly at ease in his heart. He wasn't willing to owe a favor. Kai Ming took a deep breath and asked. Duan Lingtian, the spirit weapon you used earlier was a grade 4 spirit sword. I was wondering what was troubling Vice Dean Kai. Yes, what I used earlier was indeed a grade 4 spirit sword. Duan Lingtian nodded. You know a grade 4 weapons craftsman. Kai Ming stared fixedly at Duan Lingtian. It was difficult for his gaze to move in the slightest, and it was as if it had rooted onto Duan Lingtian. Sort of. Duan Lingtian nodded. Sort of. Kai Ming was stunned. How could Kai Ming have imagined that the grade 4 spirit sword in Duan Lingtian's possession was refined by Duan Lingtian himself, and the grade 4 weapons craftsman he spoke of was Duan Lingtian himself? Vice Dean Kai. Duan Lingtian discerned that Kai Ming was interested towards the grade 4 spirit weapon, and he said straightforwardly. If you're interested in a grade 4 spirit weapon, I can ask that grade 4 weapons craftsman to refine one for you, just take it as me returning that favor I owe you. Of course, Vice Dean Kai has to prepare the materials yourself. Duan Lingtian added in the end. I can ask that grade 4 weapons craftsman to refine one for you. I can ask that grade 4 weapons craftsman to refine one for you. At this moment, only these words remained and ceaselessly resounded in Kai Ming's ears. Gradually, Kai Ming's face flushed red as he asked. Really? Vice Dean Kai, why would I deceive you? Duan Lingtian shook his head and said, moreover, I can guarantee that the grade 4 spirit weapon refined by that weapons craftsman for you will have a minimum amplification of 60%. 528 Chapter 529, First Leader of the Bandits. Duan Lingtian, you said an amplification of 60%. Are you sure? Duan Lingtian's words caused Kai Ming's figure to tremble, and he shook while having an expression of disbelief. A grade 4 spirit weapon that provided a 60% amplification. That was a grade 4 spirit weapon that was the top grade amongst the top grade. Even in the entire Darken Dynasty, it was an existence that could be called a treasure. Yes, Duan Lingtian nodded. The grade 4 spirit weapons refined by that weapons craftsman are all able to attain the effect of a 60% amplification. But, Vice Dean Kai, are you sure you want to use the favor I owe you on this grade 4 spirit weapon? Duan Lingtian looked at Kai Ming and asked. Kai Ming went silent when he heard this. After a short moment, he took a deep breath and nodded. I understand. Duan Lingtian nodded. After this mission ends, tell me what spirit weapon you want to be refined. At that time, I'll contact that weapons craftsman and make a custom grade 4 spirit weapon for you. Of course, only after I see that weapons craftsman would I know what materials are needed to refine your spirit weapon. As Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he heaved a sigh of relief. He was extremely happy that he was able to return the favor he owed Kai Ming so easily. As for the matter that he himself was the grade 4 weapons craftsman was something he didn't say. After all, it was too unbelievable. All right, Kai Ming nodded and his face flushed red in excitement. At that time, pass the detailed list of materials to me and I'll be responsible to find it for you. It wasn't that Kai Ming didn't think of the future value of this favor Duan Lingtian owed him, but the temptation of a grade 4 spirit weapon was truly too great. He was unable to endure the temptation. Of course, many years later, Kai Ming would be extremely regretful every time he recalled the decision he made today. All these were matters of the future. Duan Lingtian left the gorge and continued searching forward swiftly. Days passed by, one by one. 3 days remained to the end of the mission, and Duan Lingtian's mission points were still stuck at 378 points. In the mission this time, Crazy Young Master, Luo Zan, is in the lead at the moment. Luo Zan's points are at 462 points. Behind him is the Sword Young Master, Chen Xiaoshuai with 422 points. Then it's Flame Young Master with 406 points. Kai Ming's voice transmission sounded out by Duan Lingtian's ears. You're currently ranked number 4. No matter if it's Crazy Young Master, Sword Young Master, or Flame Young Master, they'd similarly annihilated 2 groups of bandits like you. Kai Ming added. Duan Lingtian was stunned, then he sighed. As expected of figures amongst the 5 great young masters, they're really not simple. Duan Lingtian, you're actually already not bad compared to them. You don't have any knowledge of Blackwind Ridge, whereas the 3 of them have frequently battled fierce beasts in Blackwind Ridge to temper themselves. Kai Ming said, so, their understanding of Blackwind Ridge far surpasses yours. This is also the reason that they found 2 groups of bandits each. Duan Lingtian came to a sudden understanding. Although there were no demon beasts in Blackwind Ridge, fierce beasts gathered like the clouds in Blackwind Ridge. All along the way, a great number of fierce beasts had died at his hand. But unfortunately, no matter how strong a fierce beast was, it didn't carry even a single point. If he wanted points, then he had to kill bandits. I, Crazy Young Master, Sword Young Master, and Flame Young Master have annihilated 2 groups of bandits each, then wouldn't the others have no points? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. How could that be possible? Kai Ming shook his head. The others killed many bandits that were by themselves. Not everyone has your courage, daring to drive straight into the enemy's den, and enter the lair of the bandits to carry out a slaughter. That Chai Jin found a group of bandits as well, but he was extremely unfortunate, as the bandit leader of that group was a 2nd-level void-prying stage martial artist. Kai Ming said, in the end, he was nearly killed. Fortunately, our people saved him. Duan Lingtian nodded. Chai Jin. He'd fought Chai Jin and knew that although Chai Jin was a 1st-level void-prying stage, he didn't comprehend force. He belonged to the 1st-level void-prying stage martial artists whose strength was at the bottom. But, that Chai Jin is unfortunate indeed. According to the rules of the mission this time, he was saved by another and escaped with his life, so his points will be 0. Duan Lingtian felt sorrow for Chai Jin. Vice Dean Kai, could it be that the group of bandits remaining now are the group led by the first leader? Duan Lingtian asked. Exactly, Kai Ming replied, then reminded. Duan Lingtian, Luo Zan and Zhang Yan have already found the location of the first leader of the bandits and his group, but they're both unwilling to join forces, so they've been constantly at a stalemate while hiding in the shadows. After all, if they joined forces, then even if they killed the first leader of the bandits, the points would be shared equally. Of course, what was most important was that even if they joined forces, they weren't certain in being able to kill the first leader of the bandits. Kai Ming's words caused Duan Lingtian's figure to shake. Crazy Young Master and Flame Young Master had already found the location of the bandits' first leader. Looks like I have to make the best use of my time. 2 days later, Duan Lingtian had finally found the location the first leader of the bandits was hiding. Presently, outside the gorge that the first leader of the bandits was hiding in. Besides Duan Lingtian, there was also Crazy Young Master, Sword Young Master, and Flame Young Master hiding here. Besides Chai Jin's points being cleaned out to 0 and was automatically disqualified, all the other first-level void-prying stage students of the academy were all gathered here. Continuing on like this is useless. The mission this time will end in a day. When he saw Duan Lingtian arriving late, the Sword Young Master, Chen Xiaoshuai, spoke out to break the silence. If that first leader is a 4th-level void-prying stage martial artist, then unless the 4 of us join forces, otherwise, it's utterly impossible for us to kill him. Said Luo Zan. I have no objections, said Zhang Yan. In next to no time, the gazes of the 3 shot at Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian glanced indifferently at the 3 of them, then he shrugged. I'm sorry, I'm not interested. Not interested. Duan Lingtian's words caused the 3 of them to be stunned. Flame Young Master's face sank. Duan Ling Tian, even if just one of the four of us is lacking, it would probably be difficult for us to take the first leader down. Even if the four of us attack together, we don't have sufficient certainty. If you don't work together with us, then even if the mission time ends, that first leader of the bandits would surely still be well and living. At that time, the Academy would very likely determine our missions have failed. Mission failure. Flame Young Master's words caused the expressions of Crazy Young Master and Sword Young Master to become serious. If the mission this time was really determined to be a failure by the Academy because the first leader of the bandits was alive, then their actions earlier would be seen as useless. Let alone fight for the void refining fruit. I know that there's some conflicts between us, but I hope you won't be petty at this time. The gaze Flame Young Master shot at Duan Ling Tian became fierce. Petty. Duan Ling Tian laughed and glanced deeply at Zhang Yan. Flame Young Master, you think too much of yourself. It isn't because of the conflict between you and me that I don't want to join forces with all of you. It's instead because I feel there's no need. I alone am sufficient to annihilate the first leader of the bandits. Duan Ling Tian's voice was filled with confidence. It caused Crazy Young Master, Sword Young Master, and Flame Young Master's faces to freeze. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian was able to feel three pairs of doubtful gazes. The corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth lightly curled up as a wisp of an indifferent smile appeared. The facts would prove everything. Whoosh! In the next moment, Duan Ling Tian moved. He flashed into the gorge that the bandits' first leader and his subordinates hid in. Duan Ling Tian is simply courting death. When he saw Duan Ling Tian really charging in, Flame Young had an expression of disdain. I'm going to watch as well. Sword Young Master's figure flashed and he followed up. Crazy Young Master followed closely behind. I want to properly watch the scene of Duan Ling Tian being saved from the hands of the first leader of the bandits by Vice Dean Kai. At that time, Duan Ling Tian's points will be reduced to 0. Flame Young Master followed up, and he had an expression of taking pleasure in Duan Ling Tian's misfortune. He'd never thought that Duan Ling Tian would be able to kill the first leader of the bandits. Although Duan Ling Tian had fought him to a tie that day, he didn't use force or a spirit weapon that day. As far as he was concerned, his force might be inferior to Duan Ling Tian. But his strength was instead comparable to Duan Ling Tian's strength and force together. Whereas as the third prince of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's imperial family, he possessed a grade 5 spirit weapon. This was something that was too high for Duan Ling Tian to reach. After Duan Ling Tian entered the gorge, he noticed that besides Vice Dean Kai, Crazy Young Master's group of 3 had followed as well. He couldn't help but frown. Vice Dean Kai, if I kill that first leader of the bandits, would they be able to reap the rewards of my victory and slaughter those other bandits? Duan Ling Tian sent a voice transmission to ask Kai Ming, who was concealed at the side. No matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. Perhaps, the mission points from a single bandit was little, but when added together, it was undoubtedly an extremely considerable number. Just like the 378 points Duan Ling Tian possessed currently. Amongst these points, the 3 void-prying stage martial artists only gave him 60 points, and the remaining points were all from the other bandits. Even if it's the first leader, he's only worth 200 points. Perhaps, he isn't worth more than the group of bandits subordinate to him, Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. He didn't wish for someone to reap the benefits of his victory. Logically speaking, doing this can't be considered to be going against the rules. If you have the confidence to kill the first leader, then try your best to kill more of the other bandits with comparatively stronger strengths. Kai Ming replied via voice transmission. Although he felt it was unbelievable that Duan Ling Tian wanted to challenge the bandits' first leader by himself, but when he thought of Duan Ling Tian's mysteriousness, he had an extra sense of anticipation in his heart. I can only do that. Duan Ling Tian wasn't surprised when he obtained the answer. Kill. Duan Ling Tian's gaze went cold as his figure flashed out, and he seemed to have transformed into a gale that swept towards the bandits nearby the entrance to the gorge. As expected of the bandit lair that is led by the first leader of the bandits. There was a half-step void stage bandit and 2 9th-level nascent soul stage bandits amongst these bandits. The bandits only reacted when Duan Ling Tian appeared before them, and they instantly attacked Duan Ling Tian. In the sky, numerous lifelike ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. 529 Chapter 530, Demonic Technique reappears. Unfortunately, their speeds were nothing worth mentioning when compared with Duan Ling Tian. Swish! With just a swing of his sword, Duan Lingtian had annihilated these bandits. Subsequently, Duan Lingtian charged into the gorge, and all the bandits within the gorge were alarmed. Kill him, kill, comma. The eyes of the bandits went red as they charged desperately towards Duan Lingtian. Origin energy skyrocketed atop the sabers in the hands of the bandits as they flashed out fiercely. But unfortunately, no matter how many there were of them, they were bound to be the souls of the dead under Duan Lingtian's sword. Killing a man every 10 steps, unhindered for 1,000 miles. This saying was exactly portrayed by the current Duan Lingtian. Kill, 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 comma. The sword in Duan Lingtian's hand was like a death god's scythe, the brush of the judge that decided life and death. Every time he attacked, it would take away the life of one or more bandits. It wasn't long before nearly half of the bandits in the gorge were killed by Duan Lingtian. Because of Kai Ming's reminder, almost all the bandits Duan Lingtian killed were at the 8th level of the nascent soul stage or above, and there was even 3 first-level void-prying stage elite bandits amongst them. Relying on his spiritual force to judge the cultivation of the bandits caused the entire process to be exceedingly easy. In a short moment of time, the strongest amongst the remaining bandits were only at the 7th level of the nascent soul stage. These bandits were scared shitless by Duan Lingtian and all of them retreated. Right at this moment, a swift figure dashed out from within the cave, and in the sky, 7,500 ancient mammoth silhouettes dashed out behind him. The person that arrived emitted waves of a vast and majestic aura. This aura came from the strand of earth and yellow energy on the origin energy on the person that had arrived. Earth Force, 5th level of the void-prying stage. Half-step advanced Earth Force. Without using his spiritual force to detect it, Duan Lingtian was able to discern the strength of the person who'd arrived just from the 7,500 ancient mammoth silhouettes that the person had condensed into form from drawing upon the energy of heaven and earth. In next to no time, a curly-bearded man in a grey robe appeared before Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian knew that this person ought to be the first leader of the bandits. When the curly-bearded man saw the corpses that covered the floor, crimson red suffused his eyes. Subsequently, he stared fixedly at Duan Lingtian and shouted out angrily. "Kid, you killed my brothers, you deserve death." Whereas now, Kai Ming, who was concealed in the shadows, went gloomy. 5th level of the void-prying stage. This first leader of the bandits has actually broken through. The breakthrough of the bandits' first leader had exceeded his expectations. Although even if the first leader had broken through, he was nothing in Kai Ming's eyes. But to Duan Lingtian, it undoubtedly brought about an even greater level of difficulty. Now, he'd already accumulated strength while waiting to attack out, and he was prepared to save Duan Lingtian at any moment. Although in this way, Duan Lingtian's score would be wiped clean, and perhaps would cause the void refining fruit to slip past Duan Lingtian's fingers, but this was still better than being killed. Only when one was alive did one have hope. 5th level of the void-prying stage. Crazy young master, sword young master, and flame young master that were hiding in the shadows like Kai Ming went pale. They originally thought that the first leader of the bandits was only at the 4th level of the void-prying stage, and this was why thoughts of joining forces arose within their hearts. But now, when they saw the 5th level void-prying stage cultivation of the bandits' first leader, they were completely dumbstruck. At the same time, strands of coldness arose within their hearts. As far as they were concerned, since the first leader of the bandits was at the 5th level of the void-prying stage, then even if they'd joined forced with Duan Lingtian, it would still be impossible for them to be a match for him. At that time, they might even have approached a situation that was deathly dangerous because of this and make the person behind them that was responsible for recording their scores to save them. Whereas their score would be reduced to 0. Duan Lingtian, I really should thank you for protecting my points. Flame young master's eyes flashed and he was slightly taking pleasure in Duan Lingtian's misfortune. But in the next moment, he was dumbstruck. Within Flame young master's field of vision, the first leader's figure flashed and had gone berserk as he attacked Duan Lingtian. In the sky, 7,500 ancient mammoth silhouettes dashed out. It was at this moment, as if they'd discussed it earlier, all the 7,500 ancient mammoth silhouettes dispersed at the same time within an instant, and they vanished without a trace. Whereas the first leader's figure stopped halfway and was staring blankly on the spot. Whoosh! In next to no time, he saw Duan Lingtian attack. Tempest Point. With a raise of his hand, Duan Lingtian pointed out and a piercing howl sounded out. As the origin energy point force shot out from the top of his finger, the half-step advanced wind force and half-step advanced lightning force suffused into it. Swish, hiss, with only a single point, he's pierced through the throat of the bandit's first leader. Bang! Subsequently, a bloody hole appeared on the throat of the first leader, and his body crashed to the ground. You, he struggled to raise his head, then he pointed at Duan Lingtian, and his eyes were filled with despair and unwillingness. The first leader of the bandits struggled for a moment before his head fell down fiercely, and he was completely devoid of any signs of life. Dead. Duan Lingtian had a calm expression as he looked at the scene before him, and he wasn't surprised. Big brother Lingtian, I'm tired, I want to sleep. Right at this moment, the little gold mouse's exhausted voice transmission sounded out by Duan Lingtian's ears. Okay, rest well, Duan Lingtian replied as he strokes the little gold mouse on his shoulder. Only he knew that the reason he was able to kill the first leader of the bandits was all because of the little gold mouse's contribution. At the critical moment, the little gold mouse had executed her soul skill, Soul Shaker, in a timely manner, causing the first leader to instantly become dazed, and it gave Duan Lingtian an opportunity to take advantage of. The instant the first leader was affected by the little gold mouse's Soul Shake soul skill, it was equivalent to losing all guard and to become a sheep waiting to be slaughtered, a piece of fish of the chopping block. Duan Lingtian had killed him with just a finger. This, Kai Ming's eyes sprang wide open like saucers. Although his heart contained a trace of imagination, and he felt that perhaps Duan Lingtian would be able to bring him a pleasant surprise, but he never imagined that this pleasant surprise would be so shocking. A 5th-level void-prying stage martial artist. Duan Lingtian didn't even use a spirit sword or force, and he'd only used a pure origin energy point force that killed the martial artist. He saw it clearly, the strength of that finger force of Duan Lingtian's was only comparable to the strength of 2,000 ancient mammoths, and Duan Lingtian had relied on this strength to kill a 5th-level void-prying stage martial artist that had comprehended half-step earth force. If he didn't see it with his own 2 eyes, he wouldn't believe it was real even if someone bashed him to death. As for the crazy young master, sword young master, and flame young master, they were completely dumbstruck. At the first possible moment, the same though arose in their hearts. Mother ****, were they putting on a play? Otherwise, why did the bandit first leader suddenly stop and disperse his origin energy? The scene from before caused them to feel disbelief. After a short moment, crazy young master was the first to recover from his shock, and he pounced towards the remaining bandits. There were still many bandits remaining as Duan Lingtian had only killed less than half earlier. After crazy young master made a move, sword young master and flame young master recovered from their shock as well, and they both pounced onto the remaining bandits. For a time, the shrill cries of the bandits sounded out without end, and it rose and fell continuously. Only Duan Lingtian turned around and walked out without the slightest interest. He left crazy young master, sword young master, and flame young master to launch a one-sided slaughter on the group of bandits. Duan Lingtian, aren't you afraid they'll surpass you? Kai Ming couldn't help but be stunned when he saw Duan Lingtian's actions. After all, although all of these were only ordinary bandits, they were superior because of their great number. Tell me that when they surpass me. Duan Lingtian shrugged and had an indifferent expression. At the beginning, Kai Ming didn't understand the meaning within Duan Lingtian's words. But in next to no time, he came to realize the truth. He noticed to his astonishment that amongst the group of bandits that crazy young master, sword young master, and flame young master were killing, the bandit with the strongest strength was only at the 7th level of the nascent soul stage. When all of the bandits had died at the hands of crazy young master's group of 3, Kai Ming's heart shook. Could it be that Duan Lingtian killed all of the bandits with a cultivation at the 8th level of the nascent soul stage and above earlier? An absurd thought suddenly emerged within his heart. During the chaotic battle earlier, many bandits hadn't even had the time to attack. It was difficult for him to imagine that under such circumstances, Duan Lingtian was still able to kill all the bandits at the 8th level of the nascent soul stage and above. At this moment, he knew that Duan Lingtian was the worthy number 1 in the mission this time. They're actually all at the 7th level of the nascent soul stage or below. Flame young master had an unsightly expression as he glanced fiercely at the distant Duan Lingtian. This Duan Lingtian's luck is really good, all the bandits with a high cultivation have actually been killed by him. During the experience mission this time, the lower the cultivation of the bandit killed, the lower the points obtained. Especially bandits that haven't even stepped into the 8th level of the nascent soul stage, they were even lower in points. Luck. When they heard Zhang Yan, both Crazy Young Master and Sword Young Master disapproved. They didn't think that this was Duan Lingtian's luck. At this moment, the gazes they looked at Duan Lingtian with were filled with terror. They knew that Duan Lingtian was far more terrifying than they'd imagined. So long as they recalled the scene from before, they couldn't help but shiver. The first leader of the bandits, a 5th-level void-prying stage martial artist that had even comprehended half-step advanced earth force, actually didn't have the chance to attack before Duan Lingtian. At that instant, the first leader of the bandits seemed as if he'd suddenly lost his soul, and was at Duan Lingtian's mercy. In next to no time, the two of them seemed to have thought of something at the same time, and they looked at each other. Could it be Duan Lingtian's demonic technique? Looks like Flute Fairy wasn't putting on a show with Duan Lingtian that day, perhaps Duan Lingtian really does know demonic techniques. Sword Young Master and Crazy Young Master communicated via voice transmission, and they quickly confirmed this fact. After all, the scene from before was truly too unbelievable. If they were to look at it according to conventional logic, it was practically impossible for the same to occur. So they could only determine that it was Duan Lingtian executing his demonic technique. Moreover, it wasn't the first time that Duan Lingtian had executed his demonic technique. But they just didn't believe it the other time. This time, they had no choice but to believe it. At the instant that first leader of the bandits was driven to distraction, there was no fluctuation of inscriptions. In other words, Duan Lingtian didn't utilize an inscription. Kai Ming's heart shook. Could it be that he really knows demonic techniques? That day, he'd noticed the scene of Flute Fairy, Ziyan, losing her composure in the inner hall. At that time, he didn't believe Duan Lingtian knew demonic techniques just like everyone else. But now, he had no choice but to have doubts. 530 Chapter 531, Number 1. No matter how Kai Ming and the others thought, Duan Lingtian had indeed killed the 5th-level void-prying stage first leader of the bandits. Although the process was bizarre, they were unable to discern that Duan Lingtian had used an external source of strength. Once the bandits' first leader perished, the remaining bandits were only strays that were scattered all about, and they were unable to cause any more trouble. In next to no time, the mission this time was officially brought to a successful close. The group of students once again gathered outside Blackwind Ridge and prepared to return to the Dragon and Phoenix Academy in the Imperial City. Where are Lu Yu and the others from the Azure Forest Trisect? Before long, some students noticed that some people were missing. Amongst the people present, besides the few disciples from the Azure Forest Trisect, everyone had arrived. It's true, Lu Yu and the others have gone missing. Many students exclaimed in surprise. Duan Lingtian's brows raised and he imperceptibly met gazes with Kai Ming. You were responsible for recording the score of Lu Yu's group, what's going on? Kai Ming looked at a middle-aged man in black clothes and asked in a low voice. The black-clothed middle-aged man sighed. Vice Dean, early this morning, those Azure Forest Trisect disciples didn't heed my advice and wandered arbitrarily in Blackwind Ridge. I didn't follow after them. Kai Ming frowned, then said with a low voice, you and a few more people go look for them again. Yes, a few black-clothed middle-aged men left together. These black-clothed middle-aged men were the people that followed behind the group of students into Blackwind Ridge and were responsible to record the mission results of the students. Let's return first. Under Kai Ming's lead, Duan Lingtian and the other left Blackwind Ridge and headed towards the Imperial City. All along the way, Duan Lingtian could notice the gazes that frequently descended onto him. Besides the Vice Dean, Kai Ming, the owners of these gazes was Crazy Young Master, Sword Young Master, Flame Young Master, and Flute Fairy. Especially that Flute Fairy, Ziyan, looked at him with a slightly complicated gaze. Duan Lingtian was able to guess that perhaps Flute Fairy already knew about the matter of him killing the first leader of the bandits. Duan Lingtian wasn't wrong. Flute Fairy did indeed already know of this matter, and it was Flame Young Master that told her via voice transmission. His demonic technique is actually able to help him kill the 5th leader of the bandits that's at the 5th level of the void-prying stage. Flute Fairy's heart trembled as her beautiful face slightly went grim. Although she wasn't the only one in the academy that agreed that Duan Lingtian knew demonic techniques anymore, she was instead unable to feel happy. The stronger Duan Lingtian's strength was, it would mean the more danger her brother, Zither Young Master, was in. After all, her brother's goal was precisely to overcome Duan Lingtian's demonic technique and defeat Duan Lingtian. Whereas now, Duan Lingtian was actually even able to kill a 5th-level void-prying stage martial artist, and her heart was filled with worry towards her brother, Zither young master. Blackwind Ridge wasn't far from the Imperial City, and Duan Lingtian and the others quickly returned to the Imperial City and to Dragon and Phoenix Academy. At the center square of Dragon and Phoenix Academy, besides the students from the Azure Forest Trisect, all the other students were gathered here. Whereas now, the Vice Dean, Kai Ming, stood before everyone, and he held a small book in his hand. On it was the records of everyone's scores. Presently, besides Crazy Young Master, Sword Young Master, Flame Young Master, and Flute Fairy, everyone was looking at Kai Ming in anticipation. They wanted to know who exactly obtained the number 1 position in the experience mission this time. After all, the person that obtains the highest points during the experience mission this time would be able to obtain a void refining fruit. I wonder which void prying stage student obtained the number 1 position. At any rate, it surely isn't Chai Jin. You've heard of the incident with Chai Jin as well. Of course, I'm afraid amongst the people present now, there's probably only a few people that don't know Chai Jin mistakenly entered into a bandit lair and almost died at the hands of the bandits' 5th leader. Chai Jin is really unfortunate. Almost 100 points are gone with the wind just like this. Many outer hall students discussed animatedly. Chai Jin stood in the ranks of the inner hall students. As he listened to these irritating whispers of discussion, it caused him to be angered to the point his figure trembled, and his expression is unsightly to the extreme. At this moment, he felt too ashamed to show his face. As a void-prying stage inner hall student, he'd obtained a 0 in the experience mission this time, and he was bound to become a joke. Everyone did well this time, besides some people that didn't heed advice and wandered arbitrarily in Blackwind Ridge. Kai Ming spoke slowly, and an expression of rage appeared on his face as he finished speaking. Duan Lingtian couldn't help but laugh to himself when he saw this scene. If that Lu Yu and the others were to hear Kai Ming's words now, then even if they were on the path to hell, they would probably be enraged to the point their lungs exploded, right? Calm your anger, Vice Dean Kai, there's no need to be angry for the sake of a few people that don't abide by the rules. Many students persuaded Kai Ming. Kai Ming's gloomy expression gradually eased up, and this caused Duan Lingtian to be unable to refrain from sighing with emotion. This Vice Dean Kai really knows how to act. Just from the surface, one can't perceive a single flaw. If he wasn't a concerned party, perhaps he would be deceived. The person that obtained the number 1 rank in the experience mission this time has already been decided. Kai Ming spoke once more, and he stopped at the critical moment, successfully attracting the gazes of everyone. The person whose points is the highest obtained 736 points. It's precisely the inner hall student, Duan Lingtian. Kai Ming announced in one go. Instantly, the gazes of everyone including Crazy Young Master and the others who were mentally prepared since long ago had descended onto Duan Lingtian. 736 points. Number 1. Duan Lingtian had become the center of attention as expected. 736 points. Duan Lingtian is really abnormal. Yeah, I and my small team worked together and used all-out energy, yet we only gathered 32 points. Moreover, it's team points. Duan Lingtian instead obtained 736 points by himself. As expected of the matchless genius martial artist of our Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. The sounds of praise rose and fell. The gazes of all the outer hall students were filled with reverence as they looked at Duan Lingtian. Perhaps, if Duan Lingtian was only slightly stronger to them, and they had the chance to chase after Duan Lingtian, they would rouse feelings of envy within them. But Duan Lingtian's current accomplishments were something they were too behind to catch up to. So they only had reverence when facing Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian's natural talent in the martial Dao had always been exceedingly monstrous. Once he consumes the void refining fruit this time, I wonder what extent his strength will attain. Yeah, at that time, on the stage of the Darkstone Empire, Duan Lingtian might have the chance to head to the Darken Dynasty to obtain the qualifications to compete at the martial competition of the 10 dynasties. If he's really able to advance to the Darken Dynasty, then our Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom would obtain great honor. At the same time that many outer hall students whispered in discussion, they had expressions of anticipation. As for the others, so long as you have points, you can head to the Swimming Dragon Hall tomorrow and exchange for cultivation methods, martial skills, medicinal pills, spirit weapons, etc. At that time, the points of every one of you will be displayed on the bulletin board at the door of the Swimming Dragon Hall. As Kai Ming finished speaking, he waved his hand. Disperse. The group of students dispersed, and for a time, only Duan Lingtian and Kai Ming remained. Duan Lingtian, I'll make a trip to the Imperial Palace to get the void refining fruit now, I'll pass it to you in the afternoon, said Kai Ming to Duan Lingtian. Thank you, Vice Dean Kai. Duan Lingtian nodded, then said, Vice Dean Kai, may I know what type of grade 4 spirit weapon you want? Grade 4 spirit weapon. Kai Ming's gaze blazed, and with a raise of his hand, a glove appeared in his hand. Grade 6 spirit weapon. With just a glance, Duan Lingtian had recognized the grade of this spirit weapon glove. The glove was dark gray and made of special materials that were very extraordinary. If it's possible, I hope you can tell that weapons craftsman to refine a grade 4 spirit weapon for me according to this glove. Kai Ming passed the glove in his hand to Duan Lingtian. All right, Duan Lingtian nodded. In another few days, I'll go look for that weapons craftsman and see what materials he needs. Sorry for troubling you. Kai Ming smiled lightly, then bid his farewells before turning and leaving. When he left, Kai Ming's face revealed slight excitement. Although he was a revered elder of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's imperial family, he only had a grade 6 spirit weapon with an amplification of 38%. Presently, he had the opportunity to obtain a grade 4 spirit weapon that provided a 60% amplification, and it caused him to be wildly delighted. So long as he changed his spirit weapon, his strength would be able to improve by the strength of almost 2 ancient horned dragons. What sort of notion was that? After Kai Ming left, Duan Lingtian returned to the inner hall. He'd only just entered into the inner hall when he noticed a burning gaze. It was precisely Flame Young Master. Duan Lingtian. Suddenly, a sonorous voice sounded out by Duan Lingtian's ears. Subsequently, Duan Lingtian saw that Flame Young Master left his own courtyard and walked over, then looked at him. I'm interested in that void refining fruit, state a price. Duan Lingtian stopped his footsteps and raised his head to look at Zhang Yang before saying indifferently. I'm extremely interested in the void refining fruit as well, if you're able to find one more for me, you can state any price. You, Zhang Yan's face sank and was slightly angry from embarrassment. If you don't have anything else you need, then don't block my way. Duan Lingtian's gaze seemed to have an extra sense of coldness. Zhang Yan's heart jerked. Only now did he remember the scene of Duan Lingtian killing the first leader of the bandits at Blackwind Ridge this morning. This Duan Lingtian was even able to kill a 5th level void prying stage martial artist. At this moment, even though Zhang Yan was unwilling, he could only move aside. This morning, after the first leader of the bandits was killed by Duan Lingtian, he knew that he was far from a match for Duan Lingtian. Even to the extent that Duan Lingtian had already held back when fighting him the other time. Otherwise, once Duan Lingtian executed that demonic technique, he would probably be completely crushed by Duan Lingtian in a single move. Looks like Little Gold is really tired. After he returned to his room, Duan Lingtian grabbed the little gold mouse that lay on his shoulder and lightly placed her on the table. It was all thanks to Little Gold today, otherwise, it would be impossible for me to kill the bandits' 5th leader. I truly never imagined that the first leader of the bandits was actually a 5th level void prying stage martial artist. When he recalled the scene from this morning, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but sigh. But, it was fortunate that the first leader of the bandits wasn't an inscription master at the first level of the void initiation stage or above, or an ordinary martial artist at the second level of the void initiation stage. 531 Chapter 532, Unintentional Events. After all, the little gold mouse's spiritual force was only at the first level of the void initiation stage now, and its limitations were extremely great. Afternoon that day, Kai Ming came over and passed the void refining fruit to Duan Lingtian. The void refining fruit was completely milky white, crystalline and translucent. With just a glance, it would cause one's mouth to drool with envy. Duan Lingtian sat cross-legged on the bed. He consumed a void condensing pill after consuming the void refining fruit, and then he started cultivating. Along with the medicinal strength of the void condensing pill and void refining fruit fusing into his body, the origin energy in Duan Lingtian's body started to strengthen endlessly. 9 Dragons War Sovereign Technique, Lightning Worm Form. Duan Lingtian circulated his mental cultivation method, and the origin energy in his body ceaselessly strengthened and improved, as if it never knew of exhaustion. In his cultivation, Duan Lingtian forgot the time. Whereas Duan Lingtian's cultivation was undergoing a tremendous change. It wasn't long before Duan Lingtian's cultivation at the first level of the void prying stage had arrived at its extreme bottleneck, and then it broke through the bottleneck to step into the second level of the void prying stage. After he broke through to the second level of the void prying stage, the medicinal strength of the void condensing pill and void refining pill was still powerful, and they fused into Duan Lingtian's origin energy to continue circulating with the lightning worm method's mental cultivation method. After an unknown amount of time, Duan Lingtian stopped cultivating when he felt the origin energy in his body had the feeling of being saturated. Haste doesn't bring success. At the same time, he was able to feel clearly that there was still a large amount of the medicinal strength of the void refining fruit remaining and was hidden within his dantian. Whereas the medicinal strength of the void condensing pill was instead completely absorbed by him. Once I completely assimilate the medicinal strength of the void refining fruit, I ought to be able to break through to the third level of the void prying stage or even higher in a short amount of time. Duan Lingtian opened his eyes, and flowing lights flashed within. My spiritual force has broken through a level along with my cultivation. Presently, my spiritual force is still 2 levels higher than my cultivation. The 4th level of the void prying stage. Duan Lingtian revealed a smile. Needless to say, his gains this time were extremely great. Squeak squeak, a wave of cries sounded out by his ears, and only now did Duan Lingtian notice that the little gold mouse had already awoken since an unknown time. Big brother Lingtian, I'm hungry, the little gold mouse's voice transmission was extremely urgent. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled, then he got off the bed and opened the room door before walking into the courtyard. I'll go ask them to prepare good food for us now, actually, I'm hungry as well. Whoosh. The little gold mouse transformed into a gold light that firmly descended onto Duan Lingtian's shoulder. After a short moment, Duan Lingtian and the little gold mouse ate delicious delicacies. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian took the opportunity to ask the worker about the time. The answer he obtained had exceeded Duan Lingtian's expectations. I've actually cultivated for 10 days. In other words, I can go out again now. At the first possible moment, Duan Lingtian thought of the guild master of the Weapons Craftsman Guild, Luo Rong. According to the agreement between him and Luo Rong, he would go guide Luo Rong in the Tao of weapons refinement every month. Little gold, quickly finish your food. Let's go out, said Duan Lingtian to the little gold mouse. Squeak squeak, the little gold mouse nodded excitedly, then started gobbling down her food. After a short moment, she'd completely cleaned up the 2 portions of delicacies. Subsequently, Duan Lingtian brought along the little gold mouse and left Dragon and Phoenix Academy. When he left this time, Duan Lingtian felt his mind was refreshed. It wasn't only because his cultivation and spiritual force had attained a breakthrough, it was even more because he noticed no one was following him. Time is still sufficient, let's go around the Imperial City. Duan Lingtian was clear that the 2 great guardian elders of the Azure Forest Trisect were trapped into the inscription formation by him. So the members of the Azure Forest Trisect ought to not carry out any great movements against him in the short time. So, he had no worries. Squeak squeak, suddenly, the little gold mouse cried out and asked curiously via voice transmission. Big brother Lingtian, what place is this? It's so fragrant. The little gold mouse on Duan Lingtian's shoulder sized up the luxurious building before her with interest. Duan Lingtian glanced over and saw the large words on the plaque, Spring Night House. Presently, at the entrance of the Spring Night House stood a group of women with heavy makeup that were ceaselessly pulling on people that passed by as they spoke and giggled with pleasant voices. Their targets had a similarity, they were all men. Duan Lingtian was naturally able to guess what this place was: a flower shop, a brothel that men sought for pleasure at. Spring Night House, this name is rather similar to the Spring Breeze House of Black Armor City. Duan Lingtian's face revealed a trace of reminiscence. That time when he was still in the Crimson Sky Kingdom's Aurora City, he'd joined the Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp for the sake of obtaining a spot in Paladin Academy. During the days in the Genius Camp, he'd passed through many types of tests along the way. In the end, the final test he faced was to go to the neighboring kingdom's Black Armor City to drive a wedge between the Lien clan and the Black Armor Army. At that time, he used the Black Armor Army commander's only son's weak point of being fond of women to successfully complete the mission. Genius Camp, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but sigh. When he recollected the numerous scenes from that time, it seemed as if it was yesterday, but in fact, many years had passed instead. Young master, have you come to have fun? You're rather handsome, how about I accompany you? A woman with heavy makeup walked out from the spring night house, then walked towards Duan Lingtian and smiled seductively as she moved to grab Duan Lingtian's hand. Duan Lingtian frowned and his figure flashed to avoid the woman. The woman frowned before grinning as she grunted. HMPH. If you aren't here to have fun, then why are you staring blankly at the door of our spring night house? Go away. Duan Lingtian didn't intend to fuss about it, and he intended to turn around and leave. Whoosh. Right at this moment, Duan Lingtian had a wave of piercingly cold sounds of the wind sound out from behind him. Slap. Subsequently, a clear sound of a slap sounded out. Young Master Chen, why did you hit me? At the same time, Duan Lingtian heard the voice of the prostitute who assumed a haughty air earlier. But, the voice of the prostitute now instead revealed humbleness that came from the heart. Lowly servant, do you know who he is? Do you think a person like you can mock him? Subsequently, a familiar voice entered into Duan Lingtian's ears. Duan Lingtian, who originally intended to leave, heard this voice, and then his body stopped moving before turning around. With just a glance, Duan Lingtian saw the sword young master, Chen Xiaoshuai, whose clothes weren't clean and tidy. Presently, a woman with a delicate and pretty appearance hung on sword young master's body. This woman was much more beautiful than the woman with heavy makeup. The expression of the woman with heavy makeup went pale when she heard sword young master. Sword young master, who's this young master? I'm extremely curious. The woman, who had her hands coiled over Chen Xiaoshuai's neck and hung on him, spoke with a pleasant and light voice as she asked. His surname is Duan, what do you think? Sword young master lowered his head to kiss the woman's cheek. Duan. The woman's face froze when she heard this, then said in astonishment after a short while. Could it be that he's the 7-star sword sect genius disciple Duan Lingtian? The most monstrous genius martial artist that is publicly acknowledged in our Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom? Exactly. Sword young master nodded, then looked at Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, since you come to the door of Spring Night House, want to go in with me and play? It's my treat, how about it? Duan Lingtian smiled indifferently. Sword young master, I appreciate your kindness, but I don't like these type of places. Sword young master glanced deeply at Duan Lingtian when he heard this. Subsequently, sword young master's gaze descended onto Duan Lingtian's nether regions, and asked with a deep meaning hidden within his words. Duan Lingtian, it wouldn't be that you have something wrong in that department? FK off. Duan Lingtian said angrily, you have something wrong in that department. You should control yourself, watch out or you might empty your body and affect your cultivation. After he finished speaking, Duan Lingtian turned around and left, and he didn't pay any attention to sword young master anymore. But the chance encounter today had imperceptibly pulled closer the distance between the two of them. The woman in heavy makeup was scared to the point her figure trembled when she found out of Duan Lingtian's identity. Although she was a prostitute, she'd heard of the rumors that gave rise to much discussion in the imperial city. The former disciple of the 7-star sword sect, Duan Lingtian, had obtained the first in the experience mission of the Dragon and Phoenix Academy this time, and had obtained a spirit fruit that void-prying stage experts coveted. A figure like this only had to say a single word to make her die a graveless death. When she saw Duan Lingtian turn around and leave, and he didn't fuss about it with her. Bang! She was unable to hold on any longer, she fell to the ground, and her countenance that was ghastly pale to the extreme had recovered slightly. Whereas the surrounding spectators reacted to what had just happened. So he's Duan Lingtian. As expected of the publicly acknowledged #1 genius in the history of our Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, he's really young. The crowd of people watched Duan Lingtian walk off into the distance, and they only gradually dispersed after Duan Lingtian's figure vanished before their eyes. Little beauty, let's continue. The sword young master embraced the woman in his arms and fiercely kissed her before flying up into the Spring Night House. The door of the Spring Night House returned to calm once again. You can FK off. In the future, our Spring Night House doesn't have a person like you anymore. Right at this moment, a woman that looked like a madam walked out from the Spring Night House, and she had an unsightly expression as she angrily rebuked the woman with heavy makeup that was on the ground. This is your indenture contract, scram quickly, I'll take it as I'm F-king unfortunate. Obviously, the madam was afraid that Duan Lingtian would come get even later. The woman looked at the indenture contract in her hand, and she wasn't able to recover from her shock for a long time. She never imagined that she would actually get a blessing in disguise. During these past few years, her greatest desire was to earn sufficient money and buy back her freedom. But until now, the money she'd collected was utterly inadequate. Today, a great pie had fallen onto her head just like this. Under numerous strange gazes, the woman with heavy makeup knelt on the floor and respectfully kowtowed 3 times towards the end of the street. Only she knew why she was kowtowing and to whom. Duan Lingtian naturally didn't know about all this. Duan Lingtian had walked around for the entire morning, and after he had a meal at a restaurant, he'd once again arrived at the Weapons Craftsman Guild's main guild. It was still that beautiful woman that respectfully and reverently brought Duan Lingtian to the 3rd floor. "Guest, you can enter yourself," the beautiful woman told Duan Lingtian respectfully before turning around her well-shaped delicate figure and left. Duan Lingtian nodded, then lifted the curtain on the 3rd floor before walking in with large strides. Duan Lingtian had only just entered when he heard a surprised voice sound out from within. 532 Chapter 533, Crazy Young Master's Shock. Duan Lingtian had only heard his voice but not seen him, yet Duan Lingtian was able to confirm that the owner of the voice wasn't the guild master of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Weapons Craftsman Guild, Luo Rong. This was the voice of a young man. Moreover, in this instant, Duan Lingtian felt the voice to be extremely familiar. When Duan Lingtian raised his head, he saw a familiar figure. Crazy Young Master. Duan Lingtian couldn't help but be stunned when he saw the young man before him. The person that stood before him was none other than the Crazy Young Master, Luo Zan, that was a Dragon and Phoenix Academy student as well. At the time, Luo Zan was also the first ranked amongst the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's 5 great young masters. Never had Duan Lingtian imagined that he would encounter Luo Zan here. Luo Zan, Luo Rong, could it be? Duan Lingtian thought in his heart, and he couldn't help but start guessing. Duan Lingtian, why have you come here? You came to ask my grandfather to refine a grade 6 spirit weapon. After his surprised, Crazy Young Master asked curiously. No, Duan Lingtian shook his head. Looks like his guess wasn't wrong. The Crazy Young Master, Luo Zan, was the grandson of Luo Rong. The grandson of the Weapons Craftsman Guild's master. In the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, his status isn't inferior to Flame Young Master. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Flame Young Master, Zhang Yan, was the 3rd son of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's emperor, the imperial family's 3rd prince. In the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, his status was lofty. Whereas the Weapons Craftsman Guild was an existence that's separate from the control of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. As the Guild Master of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Weapons Craftsman Guild, even if the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Emperor met Luo Rong, the Emperor would have to treat him courteously and with due respect. No, Crazy Young Master was stunned. Then you came to look for my grandfather for. Master, you've come. Right at this moment, an aged voice sounded out from within the inner room. Subsequently, an old man with refreshed spirits walked out, and he respectfully and reverently bowed to Duan Lingtian. The nearby Crazy Young Master was completely dumbstruck. His grandfather had bowed to Duan Lingtian. Moreover, his grandfather had respectfully addressed Duan Lingtian as master. At this moment, Luo Zan felt his brain wasn't powerful enough to understand what was going on. If Duan Lingtian was changed into a gray-haired old man, he might have not felt surprised. But Duan Lingtian was a young man that was even younger than him. Guild Master Luo, Duan Lingtian replied with a smile. This scene entered into Crazy Young Master's eyes and caused him to be flabbergasted. His grandfather, the Guild Master of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Weapons Craftsman Guild, had bowed to a 25-year-old young man, and it had already caused him to feel disbelief. Now, the person his grandfather bowed to, the young man that was shockingly young, had actually frankly accepted all this. Who can tell me exactly what the FK is going on? He was almost driven to madness from irritation. Zan. Luo Rong saw Luo Zan staring blankly as he stood there at the side, then he frowned as he shouted in a low voice. Quickly come over and bow to this master. Grandfather, are you mistaken about something? He's similar to me, and he's only a student in Dragon and Phoenix Academy. How can he be some master? Luo Zan said with a bitter smile. Slap. Unexpectedly, Luo Zan had only just finished speaking when Luo Rong seemed to have transformed into the wind to flash to the side of Luo Zan, then slapped straight onto the back of his head. Ah! Luo Zan felt pain and cried out. Bo. Luo Rong's gaze became fierce, and it caused Luo Zan's entire body to be unable to refrain from trembling. In his entire lifetime, it was the first time he'd seen his grandfather be so serious. Although he didn't know what was going on, he knew that if he continued to disobey his grandfather, he would absolutely not come to a good end. Master. In the end, Luo Zan braced himself and nodded to Duan Lingtian, and it could be considered as saluting Duan Lingtian. You call that a salutation? Luo Rong's voice sounded out in a timely manner, and his tone had become much heavier. It scared Luo Zan to the point his body trembled again, and he hurriedly bowed to Duan Lingtian. Master. Duan Lingtian was slightly at a loss of whether to laugh or cry as he watched the scene before him. Master, this grandson of mine is impolite, I hope you don't blame him. Luo Rong had an apologetic expression as he looked at Duan Lingtian. Guild Master Luo, don't mention it, it's exactly as crazy young master said, I'm just like him, I'm only a student in Dragon and Phoenix Academy. In the future, we'll each have a separate relationship. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled. Master, what ability does this kid have to be worthy of you calling him crazy young master? Master, don't hesitate to just call him Little Zan in the future. Luo Rong spoke respectfully and reverently to Duan Lingtian. The nearby Luo Zan had a helpless and bitter expression. Duan Lingtian, exactly what medicine have you given my grandfather? Why do I suddenly feel he has gone senile? Crazy young master's slightly helpless voice transmission sounded out by Duan Lingtian's ears. Your grandfather isn't senior, he's extremely sober. Duan Lingtian replied with all seriousness. This is considered as sober. The corners of Luo Zan's mouth twitched when he heard this, yet he didn't dare say it out. In the end, Duan Lingtian used actions to prove everything. Hiss. Along with Duan Lingtian raising his hand and flipping his palm, a strand of blue-colored flames lit ablaze on his palm. The blue-colored flame raged and moved restlessly, and it seemed as if it could burn everything. Blue-colored weapon flame. This is a grade 4 weapon flame. Luo Zan was completely stunned on the spot as he looked at the grade 4 weapon flame in Duan Lingtian's hand, and it was difficult for him to believe that everything before his eyes was real. He only recovered from his shock when Duan Lingtian put out the weapon flame. Now, he finally understood. No wonder grandfather is so respectful to Duan Lingtian, and he even called Duan Lingtian as a master. So it turns out that Duan Lingtian is not only a genius martial artist, he's even a grade 4 weapons craftsman. Grade 4 weapons craftsman, just thinking about it caused his heart to be unable to refrain from trembling. As the grandson of Luo Rong, he naturally knew how difficult the Tao of weapons refinement was. Even he himself was unable to set foot into the path of weapons refinement because his natural talent in weapons refinement wasn't sufficient, and this was a lifelong regret of his. Not yet 25 years of age, yet possesses a cultivation at the void-prying stage, and his accomplishments in the Tao of weapons refinement can even be called heaven-defying. A grade 4 weapons craftsman, it's truly unbelievable. Luo Zan's feelings surged and it was difficult for it to calm down after a long time. The shock Duan Lingtian brought to him was too great. Let's begin. Before long, Luo Zan heard Duan Lingtian's voice, and he noticed that along with Duan Lingtian speaking, his grandfather, the guild master of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Weapons Craftsman Guild, stood to the side like an obedient student and silently listened to Duan Lingtian talking about the Tao of weapons refinement. Although he knew nothing about the Tao of weapons refinement, he was able to discern that his grandfather listened with extreme interest. Not only that, his grandfather even raised some questions from time to time. Whereas Duan Lingtian would be able to answer his grandfather at the first possible moment every single time, and allowed his grandfather to be enlightened at one. Mad, this world is surely mad. How could such an unbelievable thing possibly happen? At this moment, Luo Zan felt like the world was in chaos. Why would the world give birth to a monster like Duan Lingtian? If it was said that before today, he still had the thought of comparing himself with Duan Lingtian, then now, he only felt a wave of powerlessness. Not only did Duan Lingtian's natural talent in the martial Tao surpass him, Duan Lingtian's accomplishments in the Tao of weapons refinement even caused the grandfather he respected the most to be too inferior to be compared to Duan Lingtian. A grade 4 weapons craftsman. Ordinarily speaking, this was an existence that only the various dynasties possessed. Now, an existence like this had appeared in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom and had appeared before his eyes. Most importantly, this was a young man that wasn't even 25. An afternoon's worth of time passed by extremely quickly. Your comprehension ability isn't bad, but unfortunately, you didn't have a good teacher's guidance and have tread down many wrong paths. I can guarantee that within half a year, you'll surely be able to become a grade 5 weapons craftsman," said Duan Lingtian to Luo Rong. Luo Rong said with a humble expression, "It's all because master is skillful in teaching." "Alright, it's getting late, I ought to leave." Duan Lingtian bid his farewells to Luo Rong and turned around, intending to leave. "Zan, you accompany Master back to Dragon and Phoenix Academy. Remember to listen to Master in the Dragon and Phoenix Academy. If you let me know that you dare be disrespectful to Master, I won't forgive you." Luo Rong looked at Luo Zan as he instructed, and as he finished speaking, his tone became slightly more serious. "Alright, grandfather." Luo Zan smiled bitterly as he agreed. On the way, "Crazy young master, I hope you won't tell others that I'm a grade 4 weapons craftsman." Duan Lingtian spoke slowly. "Don't worry, I'm not a big mouth, besides that, don't call me crazy young master in the future. Otherwise, if my grandfather finds out, I'm afraid he'd directly break my legs." As he finished speaking, Luo Zan had a helpless expression. He feared nothing except the grandfather he respected the most. "Don't call you crazy young master." Duan Lingtian's brows raised as a wisp of a smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. "Then I should call you Little Zan in the future. It sounds rather nice." The corners of Luo Zan's mouth twitched. "Can you directly call my name?" "What, you have an objection?" Duan Lingtian glanced deeply at Luo Zan. "Do you need me to help give some complaints to your grandfather?" The corners of Luo Zan's mouth twitched when he heard this, yet was at a loss to what to say, and he'd completely frightened. "Duan Lingtian, you consumed the void refining fruit 10 days ago and you ought to have already broken through to the second level of the void prying stage, right? How about we have a spar?" When he saw the academy was just before their eyes, Luo Zan took the initiative to challenge Duan Lingtian. "Anytime." Duan Lingtian shrugged and had an indifferent expression. Subsequently, the two of them entered the Dragon and Phoenix Academy, then they casually found an unused space before standing facing each other. "Let me say it first, you can't use your demonic technique." Before they started, Luo Zan added in advance. "Demonic technique?" Duan Lingtian was stunned. "The ability you used 10 days ago to make the first leader of the bandits become dazed," said Luo Zan. Duan Lingtian came to a sudden understanding. So it turns out that Luo Zan was speaking of Little Gold's soul skill. "Could it be that you think you're a match for me after I've broken through if I don't use the demonic techniques?" Duan Lingtian smiled. "We'll know if I'm a match for you after we fight." Strong confidence appeared on Luo Zan's face. At the same time, he took a step out and the origin energy on his body raged and skyrocketed. It was like a strand of flame that was rising. Whoosh! In the sky, 4,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. 533 Chapter 534, I'm that idiot. Third level of the void prying stage. Duan Lingtian's pupils constricted as he looked at the 4,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes above Luo Zan. Luo Zan has actually broken through. Whoosh! Subsequently, a strand of red energy appeared in the origin energy on the surface of Luo Zan's body. In the sky, another 200 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared. It was precisely Luo Zan's elementary fire force. At this moment, Luo Zan's figure flashed out like spraying flames that swept towards Duan Lingtian, and it seemed as if it wanted to burn Duan Lingtian into ash. Swoosh! When Luo Zan arrived nearby Duan Lingtian, he abruptly raised his hand. A spear appeared in his hand, and accompanied by the twining of his raging origin energy and fire force, the spear was like a flame dragon emerging from its cave as it fiercely flashed towards Duan Lingtian. In the sky, another 1,500 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared. Obviously, the spear in Luo Zan's hand was a grade 6 spirit spear. Luo Zan's spear strike flashed out, and when it arrived nearby Duan Lingtian, he shook the body of the spear, causing the tip of the spear to sweep out like raindrops. Whoosh, 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 the array of stars that covered the sky embellished the sky, and they instantly transformed into numerous shooting stars that swept towards Duan Lingtian. Luo Zan attacked with his full strength, utilizing both spirit weapon and fire force. His strength was comparable to the strength of 5,700 ancient mammoths. Luo Zan felt his spirits refreshed when he attacked with full force. Presently, his body shot out with his spear as the corners of his mouth slightly curled into a smile, and he seemed as if he's already seen the scene of himself defeating Duan Lingtian. It's a pretty good spear skill, unfortunately, it's too fancy and has scattered a large amount of strength. Right at this moment, Duan Lingtian spoke. At the same time that he spoke, the violet myrtle flexible sword appeared in Duan Lingtian's hand. Origin energy suffused into it before half-step advanced lightning force and half-step advanced wind force fused into the origin energy. In the next moment, Duan Lingtian's gaze went slightly cold. Sword drawing arts. Duan Lingtian stood on the spot and with a raise of his hand and the sword in his hand instantly vanished before Luo Zan's eyes. So swift. Luo Zan's pupils constricted. It was at this moment that Luo Zan clearly saw that in the sky above Duan Lingtian, there actually was 5,800 ancient mammoth silhouettes. The strength contained in this sword strike of Duan Lingtian's was the strength of 100 ancient mammoths, more than the strength of his full-force spear strike. Instantly, Luo Zan's pupils constricted and he was slightly bitter in his heart. Only now did he recall that besides being a genius martial artist with monstrous natural talent in the martial Dao, Duan Lingtian was even a grade 4 weapons craftsman with extremely high attainments in the Dao of weapons refinement. Obviously, the sword Duan Lingtian used now was a grade 4 spirit sword. Presently, Duan Lingtian's cultivation is at the second level of the void prying stage, and when not using his grade 4 spirit sword and force, he's able to exert the strength of 3,000 ancient mammoths. Once he utilized force, he will be able to increase his strength by another strength of 1,000 ancient mammoths. In other words, when Duan Lingtian doesn't utilize a spirit weapon and utilizes his full strength, he can only exert the strength of 4,000 ancient mammoths. But now, the corners of Luo Zan's mouth started twitched as he looked at the 5,800 ancient mammoth silhouettes in the sky. The amplification provided by the spirit sword in Duan Lingtian's hand was actually the strength of 1,800 ancient mammoths. With the strength of 3,000 ancient mammoths as the base, amplifying the strength of 1,800 ancient mammoths, if counted in reverse, Duan Lingtian's grade 4 spirit sword is actually able to amplify strength by 60%. Luo Zan was greatly shocked in his heart. All these thoughts were completed in only an instant. When Luo Zan returned to his senses, he had a serious expression. Origin energy raged and fire force roared on the grade 6 spirit spear in his hand. The tip of the spear pierced out swifts as if it had transformed into a meteor shower that covered the sky. But even then, he still felt slightly lacking in confidence. Swish! An ear-piercing howl of the sword slices through the sky, drawing out a mark in the air. Clang, 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 comma. Everywhere the sword light passed, the ear-piercing sound of iron weapons collided ceaselessly resounded out. It was Duan Lingtian's spirit sword that had made a circle in the air, easily stopping the sword lights of Luo Zan that descended down in tiny spots. The sword light ceaselessly spun as it passed, and its speed was so swift that it was shocking. Duan Lingtian, take this! Luo Zan shouted out explosively when he saw Duan Lingtian break through his spear skill so easily, and his spear shot out like flames as it fiercely stabbed towards Duan Lingtian. Whoosh! Piercing howls exploded out, and it gave rise to a wave of continuous sounds of air exploding. Bring it on! Duan Lingtian's brows raised, and with a raise of his hand, the violet myrtle flexible sword in his hand abruptly pierced out to intercept the tip of Luo Zan's spear. At the same time, the origin energy on Duan Lingtian's violet myrtle flexible sword abruptly started trembling. Extreme quake energy. Although quake energy at the extreme was only comparable to the strength of 100 ancient mammoths. But under these circumstances, its effect was extremely great. After all, the strength of Duan Lingtian's sword now was stronger by the strength on Luo Zan's spear by 100 ancient mammoths. Even though he'd surely defeat Luo Zan in a head-on attack, because the difference between his and Luo Zan's strength, Duan Lingtian would surely be injured even if he defeated Luo Zan. Now, by utilizing quake energy at the extreme, it would be able to help him dampen Luo Zan's strength and help him finish the battle between him and Luo Zan as soon as possible. Swish! A sword howl sounded out, and when combined with the quake energy at the extreme, it emitted a buzzing sound. Finally, the sword and spear collided. The tip of the sword collided with the tip of the spear, emitting a wave of ear-piercing noises and brought along a string of sparks at the same time. Clang! Duan Lingtian's hand shook, causing the violet myrtle flexible sword to fiercely raise up and hit the body of Luo Zan's spear. Instantly, Luo Zan's face went grim as he hurriedly let go and tossed away the spear in his hand. At this moment, his own spirit weapon was like a dreadful monster to him. Whereas the hand Luo Zhan held the spear with had split open and blood dripped down from it. What a terrifying method of strength exertion. When he thought of the scene from before, Luo Zhan had a slight lingering fear in his heart. Even though Duan Lingtian's origin energy was stronger than his, it wasn't much stronger, and he had the strength to fight. But earlier, the origin energy that gushed out from Duan Lingtian carried along an extremely terrifying force of vibration that directly smashed his origin energy. Not only that, the vibrating force that was carried along by Duan Lingtian's origin energy was even able to affect the flesh, blood, bones, and internal organs of his entire body. He was sure that if he didn't resolutely toss away the grade 6 spirit spear, the hand which he used to hold the spear would have been crippled. Duan Lingtian, what ability was that? After he put away his spirit spear, Luo Zhan looked at Duan Lingtian with a slight lingering fear in his heart. Duan Lingtian smiled mysteriously and didn't answer Luo Zhan, and then walked towards the inner hall after he put away the violet myrtle flexible sword. Luo Zhan's gaze became even more complicated as he looked at Duan Lingtian's figure that moved into the distance. After he returned to the inner hall, Duan Lingtian sent a voice transmission to Kai Ming who stood outside the small house. Vice Dean Kai, I've spoken with that grade 4 weapons craftsman, he can refine a grade 4 spirit weapon glove for you. Moreover, it will be an improvement with your grade 6 spirit weapon glove as the foundation. What materials does he require? Kai Ming had an excited expression when he heard this. The materials for a spirit weapon glove are much more difficult to come by than the materials for a saber or sword type spirit weapon. That senior said that if you want to advance your grade 6 spirit glove into a grade 4 spirit weapon, you must find. Duan Lingtian listed out 7 types of materials in one go, and he'd intentionally added slightly extra amounts of materials. Because he intended to take the opportunity to refine a grade 4 spirit weapon for himself that could go together with his Tempest Point. I'll gather all the materials as soon as possible. Kai Ming replied with a voice filled with excitement. Originally, Duan Lingtian's estimation was that if Kai Ming wanted to find these materials, he would at least have to spend a few months of time. 1 month later, when Duan Lingtian saw the 7 types of materials within the spatial ring that Kai Ming passed to him, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but be stunned for a time. Vice Dean Kai, where did you find these materials? 3 of these 7 types of materials are extremely difficult to come by. Duan Lingtian looked at Kai Ming with a slightly stiff expression. Kai Ming said with a smile, don't forget that besides being the Vice Dean of Dragon and Phoenix Academy, I have another identity. Duan Lingtian came to a sudden understanding when he heard this. Besides being the Vice Dean of the Academy, Kai Ming was also one of the 5 great revered elders of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's imperial family. Presumably, he'd used the might of the imperial family to find these materials. Or perhaps, he'd gone through the vault in the imperial palace. Vice Dean Kai, I'll leave the academy now and look for that senior to refine the grade 4 spirit weapon for you. Duan Lingtian left after he bid his farewells to Kai Ming. He naturally didn't go to see any senior, but instead directly went to the weapons craftsman main guild. After he ascended to the 3rd floor, he went straight to the point. I intend to refine another 2 grade 4 spirit weapons, stand aside and observe properly. Luo Rong's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he had an excited expression. I can finally see Master refine grade 4 spirit weapons again. In next to no time, Duan Lingtian withdrew the grade 6 spirit weapon gloves that Kai Ming gave him. Duan Lingtian didn't go straight to refining, but he instead looked at Luo Rong and asked. Can you discern what obvious flaws this grade 6 spirit weapon possesses? Luo Rong's gaze descended onto the gloves in Duan Lingtian's hand when he heard this. Instantly, his pupils imperceptibly constricted. Duan Lingtian didn't notice this scene. Luo Rong is slow-witted, please guide me master. Luo Rong looked respectfully at Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian said indifferently, this grade 6 spirit weapon glove used materials that are superior and utterly didn't require too superb skill in weapons refinement to easily bestow it with the ability to amplify strength by 39%. But unfortunately, the weapons craftsman that refined this spirit weapon glove was truly too stupid. How can that 1000-year ice silkworm silk be covered by frigid gold silk? It's truly a reckless waste. Duan Lingtian frowned as he said, so long as the properties of the 1000-year ice silkworm silk in this spirit weapon glove is exposed, it's extremely easy to amplify strength by 39%. Too stupid, too stupid. If the weapons craftsman that refined this spirit weapon glove was before me, I'll surely bluntly call him an idiot. As he finished speaking, Duan Lingtian ceaselessly shook his head. Master. Meanwhile, Luo Rong looked at Duan Lingtian and was slightly hesitant to speak. Duan Lingtian was bewildered as he didn't know what Luo Rong wanted to say. Master, I'm that idiot, Luo Rong said with a bitter smile. 534 Chapter 535, Cage Battle Arena. The corners of Duan Lingtian's mouth twitched and he was slightly embarrassed. Never had he imagined that the Grade 6 spirit weapon glove of the Dragon and Phoenix Academy's Vice Dean, Kai Ming, was actually refined by the Guild Master of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Weapons Craftsman Main Guild, Luo Rong. Master, you're refining a Grade 4 spirit weapon for Kai Ming. Luo Rong took a deep breath and his eyes contained slight envy mixed within. Duan Lingtian nodded. Yes, I owe him a favor. A favor. Luo Rong came to a sudden understanding. Although he was curious what favor did Duan Lingtian owe Kai Ming, he knew what he should ask and what he shouldn't. I'm starting. Duan Lingtian nodded to Luo Rong then started. Profound weapons refinement techniques came freely in Duan Lingtian's hands, and it was as if he was assisted by the gods. For the sake of taking care of Luo Rong, Duan Lingtian intentionally slowed down. In next to no time, Duan Lingtian withdrew the pile of materials including the 7 materials Kai Ming had found for him. This is 1,000-year ice. This is a 10,000-year-old turtle shell. This is, as the guild master of the Weapons Craftsman Main Guild, Luo Rong had excellent sight, and he quickly recognized these rare materials. Looks like that fellow Kai Ming went through a lot of trouble for the Grade 4 spirit weapon. Luo Rong thought in his heart. Luo Rong quickly returned to his senses and watched Duan Lingtian refine seriously. After spending an entire morning, Duan Lingtian had finally completed the refinement of the Grade 4 spirit weapon glove he promised Kai Ming. Whoosh! When Duan Lingtian wore the glove and his origin energy raged. 4,800 lifelike ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form in the sky. 60% amplification again. Luo Rong's pupils constricted when he saw this scene. Duan Lingtian nodded in satisfaction as he'd finally completed his promise to Kai Ming. Subsequently, Duan Lingtian put away the glove and wore a light azure ring on his right index finger. This wasn't a spatial ring, but was instead the Grade 4 spirit weapon Duan Lingtian refined for himself. Suddenly, Tempest Point. With a raise of his hand, the Tempest Point force condensed and tore through the sky, and it pierced through the window on the 3rd floor before it shook towards the sky outside. Above Duan Lingtian, 5,800 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. This time, the reason there is an extra strength of 1,000 ancient mammoths compared to before was because Duan Lingtian utilized his half-step advanced lightning force and half-step advanced wind force at the same time. This is an offensive spirit weapon. Luo Rong was dumbstruck. He'd seen it clearly when Duan Lingtian refined this ring earlier. He originally thought it was only a spatial ring, but unexpectedly, this was actually an offensive spirit weapon. Moreover, it was a Grade 4 offensive spirit weapon that provided a 60% amplification. Duan Lingtian spun the azure-colored ring on his hand with satisfaction, and he revealed a smile on his face. For the afternoon, Duan Lingtian continued to guide Luo Rong in the Tao of weapons refinement. Whereas Luo Rong improved by leaps and bounds when compared to before. At dusk, Luo Rong reluctantly sent Duan Lingtian to the stairway on the 3rd floor. Master, take care. Duan Lingtian nodded, then left the Weapons Craftsman Guild and returned to Dragon and Phoenix Academy. In the following days, besides cultivating in the academy, Duan Lingtian would leave the academy every month to guide Luo Rong in the Tao of weapons refinement at the Weapons Craftsman Guild. The remaining time was almost all spent on the various experience missions issued by the academy. As expected, Duan Lingtian obtained the first in every single mission issued by the academy. But unfortunately, the missions issued by the academy later on didn't have any rewards like the void refining fruit. The points Duan Lingtian collected were all exchanged for various materials. As for cultivation methods, martial skills, spirit weapons, and medicinal pills, he utterly had no need for them. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, only half a month remained to the genius competition of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. At that time, the people who ranked in the top 5 of the genius competition would obtain the qualification to head to Darkstone Empire's Imperial City and compete with the young geniuses of the Darkstone Empire and the various Imperial Kingdoms. If they were able to become eminent in the Darkstone Empire, they would be able to head to the Darken Dynasty to compete for the qualification to participate in the martial competition of the 10 dynasties. There was a vast space at the northern area of the Imperial City. This space was like a sunken gorge. Around the gorge was rows of orderly seats, and it was precisely the seating area. Presently, the seating area was jam-packed. Whereas on the even ground in the gorge was an enormous specially made iron cage that enveloped the entire gorge within it, and 2 figures could be faintly seen to be flashing within the iron cage. Presently, on the stairs outside the seating area that led outside was 3 figures. Caged Battle Arena. A young man in violet clothed raised his brows. What's special about this caged battle arena? Squeak squeak. Presently, a little gold mouse stood on the shoulder of the violet-clothed young man, and the little gold mouse looked at the other 2 people with interest. One of these 2 people carried a sheathed sword on his back, and the other was handsome and extraordinary. The 2 of them had a similarity, they were both young men that were a little over 30 years of age. Duan Ling Tian, the caged battle arena is a place filled with hot blood and is able to foster courage. The young man who carried a sword lightly smiled. Exactly, I believe that you will like this place. The handsome and extraordinary young man nodded. The 2 of you are still beating around the bush. The violet-clothed young man was precisely Duan Ling Tian. Today, he'd been forcefully dragged to this place by crazy young master and sword young master. Duan Ling Tian, ascend to the highest stairs and you'll naturally know what sort of place the caged battle arena is, Luo Zhan said with a smile. Duan Ling Tian nodded, then his pace quickened slightly. At this moment, Luo Zhan and Chen Xiaoshui had successfully aroused the curiosity in his heart. Caged battle arena. Exactly what sort of place is this? The depths of Duan Ling Tian's gaze was filled with anticipation. He hadn't stepped onto the highest stair when numerous frenzied voices entered into Duan Ling Tian's ears. Duan Ling Tian, whose heart was filled with curiosity, finally ascended to the higher level of the stairs. With just a glance, he saw that there were innumerable figures either standing or sitting now with their backs towards him. Whereas these people were now looking ahead, and many people had even stood up from their seats in excitement as they cheered loudly without end. Kill him, comma. The frenzied voices almost influenced Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian raised his head to look over, and only now did he notice that what appeared before his eyes was a large circular ring with an extremely vast area. Whereas within this large ring was many gaps, and at those gaps was numerous stairs that allowed one to go along the stairs and walk inwards. At the sides of these stairs was the boundless seating area. The scene before him caused Duan Ling Tian to be unable to help but recall the Spanish bull ring from Earth in his previous life. But, the bull ring wasn't as bustling as this place. This is the caged battle arena. Luo Zhan's voice sounded out by Duan Ling Tian's ears. Presently, Luo Zhan was pointing towards the boundless sea of people, and he lightly smiled as he introduced them to Duan Ling Tian. So many people. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but be surprised. The people in the area were probably at least numbering a few tens of thousands. Even when he was at the most bustling trade market of the Imperial City, Duan Ling Tian didn't see such a magnificent scene. I've come to the Imperial City for almost a year, yet I actually didn't know there was such a place. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Of course, this was also related to the fact that when he left the academy every month, he would directly head to the Weapons Craftsman Guild to guide Luo Rong in the Tao of weapons refinement. Luo Rong had almost occupied the only time he could leave the academy every month. Otherwise, he'd have gone all around the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Imperial City, and he wouldn't have come to the extent of not knowing of the existence of this caged battle arena. This caged battle arena is this bustling every day. Chen Xiaoshui's brows raised as he suggested. Let's go in and find a place to sit. Subsequently, under Chen Xiaoshui's lead, Duan Ling Tian and Luo Zhan followed closely behind. During this time of almost a year, Duan Ling Tian and Luo Zhan had become friends. As for Chen Xiaoshui, he had a forthright character. Coupled with him clearly casting aside his relationship with the Origin Convergence sect and his disposition, he was extremely fitting with Duan Ling Tian. So, he could be considered to be Duan Ling Tian's friend now as well. During this time of almost a year that Duan Ling Tian had arrived at the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Imperial City, Duan Ling Tian had only gotten acquainted with 2 friends. Duan Ling Tian's group of 3 followed along the stairs between the seating areas and walked down. Meanwhile, Duan Ling Tian clearly saw the scene ahead. What a large iron cage. The enormous iron cage that covered the entire vast space shocked Duan Lingtian. In next to no time, Duan Lingtian noticed the man and beast that were fighting within the enormous iron cage. The situation of the battle between the man and beast was horrifying, and that person already had one of his arms torn off. However, he was still desperately resisting. Caged battle arena, caged battle, so that's how it is. Now, Duan Lingtian could be considered to have completely understood the meaning of the words caged battle arena. Earlier, I felt this place was like the Spanish bull ring of my previous life, but now it would seem like it's more similar to the ancient Roman Colosseum of my previous life. Duan Lingtian thought in his heart, and his gaze descended onto the crowd of spectators. Whereas these people are the ancient Roman nobles that watched the slaves and wild beasts battle in the Colosseum to their heart's content, the nobles would be excited so long as they saw blood, and it's similar to these people now. Duan Lingtian slightly sighed with emotion. Although he'd integrated himself into this world, it was still slightly difficult for him to adapt to the slave system. After all, the Earth in his previous life was a world that regarded everyone as equals. But he wasn't unfamiliar to the slaves of this world. All those years ago, as the guardian elder of the Boundless sect, Shang Quan had been chased after by the Black Fiend sect, and was infected by the origin sealing parasite, causing his origin energy to be completely sealed. He was captured and branded with the brand of a slave, and had become a slave. Later on, Shang Quan was saved by Duan Lingtian and recovered his origin energy before becoming Duan Lingtian's follower. Even though Shang Quan was a slave, Duan Lingtian had never taken him to be one and had given him sufficient respect, and this was the reason that Shang Quan followed Duan Lingtian wholeheartedly. Shang Quan, Duan Lingtian couldn't help but sigh when he thought of Shang Quan now. 535. Chapter 536, Change. I hope that I can head to the foreign lands as soon as possible. So long as I'm able to obtain the resurrection pill within the great treasures the rebirth martial emperor left behind, I'll be able to help Shang Quan recover his dantian. Duan Lingtian thought in his heart. He'd always felt guilty towards Shang Quan in his heart. After all, Shang Quan's dantian was crippled and lost his entire cultivation because of Duan Lingtian. This was something he owed Shang Quan. Roar. An enormous roar pulled Duan Lingtian's thoughts back to reality. Duan Lingtian saw that within the caged battle arena, after the strong fierce beast bit the human martial artist to death, it was ceaselessly roaring loudly to demonstrate its might. He's dead. Duan Lingtian's brows frowned when he saw the mangled corpse of the human martial artist. Seeming to have perceived Duan Lingtian's surprise, the nearby Luo Zan explained. Once one enters the caged battle arena, then no matter if one is a human or a beast, only one can survive, only when one of the two remains would the caged battle end. Only the winner is able to leave the cage. Duan Lingtian frowned when he heard Luo Zan. In other words, every battle in this caged battle arena is a battle to the death. It can be said to be so. Chen Xiaoshui nodded and said slowly, to people with weak strengths, this place is hell, because they might be killed by a person or beast at any moment. Duan Lingtian nodded. So this was the caged battle arena. A place that was filled with blood and slaughter. Of course, to people who wanted to ceaselessly become stronger, this place was undoubtedly the best touchstone. 1. The people that were able to survive within the caged battle arena would surely be outstanding powerhouses. Once one stepped into the caged battle arena, one only had one choice. Either live or die. The person that was killed by the fierce beast now seems to be a slave. Duan Lingtian asked curiously. Yes. Luo Zan nodded. It's not every time that a person dares enter into the caged battle arena, so when there are no people entering, the caged battle arena arranges for the slaves, fierce beast, and demon beasts they reared to enter and slaughter each other. Whereas the caged battle arena would be the bookmaker who opens a wager and obtains benefit from it. Luo Zan finished in one go. Duan Lingtian nodded. Does the caged battle arena have any rules? Duan Lingtian asked. Chen Xiaoshui introduced. Ordinarily speaking, the slaves are demon beasts sent out by the caged battle arena itself are all of similar strength, whereas people on the spectating area can only step in battle when their cultivations are similar to the slaves, demon beasts, or fierce beasts. Otherwise, if a person with a cultivation that far surpassed the slaves, fierce beasts, and demon beasts stepped into the caged battle arena, then it would be a one-sided slaughter and have no meaning at all. The caged battle arena doesn't allow a thing like this to happen. Chen Xiaoshui continued. Duan Lingtian nodded. These rules were understandable, otherwise, wouldn't the caged battle arena lose money to the extreme? Besides that, when the person that dares to step into the caged battle arena and battle a slave, fierce beast, or demon beast with a similar cultivation obtains victory, the person will acquire generous rewards. Luo Zhan added, the rewards are different according to the cultivation of the person. For example, if a void-prying stage martial artist is able to kill the slave, demon beast, or fierce beast of the same cultivation in the caged battle arena, the reward obtained would be far more generous than a nascent soul stage martial artist's. Besides that, the person that enters the caged battle arena is not allowed to use the assistance of any external source of strength, any. Said Chen Xiaoshuai. Any. Duan Lingtian's brows raise. Could it be that even spirit weapons are prohibited? Yes. Chen Xiaoshuai nodded. Duan Lingtian couldn't help but be astonished. After all, it was impossible for the slaves in the caged battle arena to use spirit weapons to deal with those fierce beasts and demon beasts of similar cultivation. If it wasn't that way, it would have no meaning. Chen Xiaoshuai continued. Duan Lingtian nodded. He was able to understand the reason behind this rule after Chen Xiaoshuai said this. What rewards would there normally be? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. There are spirit weapons, money, medicinal pills, cultivation methods, martial skills, and there even would be some rare materials and spirit fruits occasionally as rewards. As he finished speaking, Chen Xiaoshuai's gaze burned slightly with desire. Spirit fruits. Duan Lingtian was similarly filled with yearning when he heard this. It's slightly interesting. Duan Lingtian grinned. Unknowingly, Duan Lingtian's group of 3 had arrived nearby the caged battle arena. Meanwhile, Duan Lingtian clearly and thoroughly saw the entire caged battle arena. This caged battle arena was like a football field of his previous life, and the arena was extremely vast. Whereas on this vast arena was numerous black iron that crisscrossed across to form an enormous iron cage that sealed the entire arena within it. This is 1,000-year dark iron. In next to no time, Duan Lingtian recognized the material of this iron cage, and his pupils couldn't help but constrict. 1,000-year dark iron. Even if it was a void-prying stage martial artist, it would be difficult for the martial artist to forcefully break it open. This caged battle arena truly has deep pockets. Duan Lingtian couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Duan Lingtian, this caged battle arena possesses powerful backing. It's the business under the brother of the emperor, Prince Shang. Chen Xiaoshuai provided the answer to what Duan Lingtian was wondering about. No wonder. Duan Lingtian came to a sudden understanding. Those seats. In next to no time, Duan Lingtian noticed that this seating area that was nearest to the caged battle arena actually had fewer people than the seating area behind them. After a short moment, he obtained the answer. They'd only just sat down when a middle-aged man walked over with an expressionless face and extended his hand towards Duan Lingtian's group of 3. Duan Lingtian had wrapped his head around it. Whoosh! With a raise of his hand, Chen Xiaoshuai withdrew 3 gold bills and passed it to the middle-aged man. 30,000 gold. Duan Lingtian's pupils constricted. He saw extremely clearly that the 3 gold bills Chen Xiaoshuai passed over were all of the 10,000 denomination. Because of their location being at the front, these seats that are near to the caged battle arena have an extremely good field of vision, thus, 1 seat is worth 10,000 gold. Luo Zhan noticed Duan Lingtian's surprise and smiled as he explained. 1 seat, 10,000 gold. Duan Lingtian smiled bitterly. In the caged battle arena of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Imperial City, gold was actually of so little worth. Only watching a battle to the death, only the fee for a seat had cost 10,000 gold. 10,000 gold was 1 million silver. Moreover, the people who sit in the front row have the privilege of having priority when undergoing a cage battle. Chen Xiaoshuai added. Right when Duan Lingtian's group sat down, the fierce beast within the caged battle arena had left already. A slave with a frosty expression and a slave marked branded on his face walked into the caged battle arena under the lead of an old man. This slave is at the 7th level of nascent soul stage. Is there any guest that wants to battle him? The old man soared up into the sky and stood above the slave, and his voice that contained origin energy transmitted far into the distance. So long as a guest is able to kill him, you'll be able to obtain a 500,000 gold reward from Outcaged Battle Arena. 500,000 gold. Instantly, many people became agitated in the spectating area, as the temptation of 500,000 gold was great. Duan Lingtian, if you go down into the arena to battle a slave or demon beast with the same cultivation, would you choose a slave or a demon beast? Luo Zhan asked Duan Lingtian. Demon beast. Duan Lingtian didn't hesitate in the slightest. Luo Zan looked at Chen Xiaoshuai. Sword young master, what about you? Demon beast as well. Chen Xiaoshuai similarly didn't hesitate, then said slowly, although slaves are inferior to demon beasts and fierce beasts of the same cultivation when not using a spirit weapon, but, no matter how strong demon beasts and fierce beasts are, they're only animals. Even if they've developed intelligence, there's still quite a distance when compared to humans. So, normally speaking, slaves have a will to survive that far surpasses a fierce beast and demon beast. When they're facing imminent death, they'd often explode out with unbelievable potential and launch a counterattack. I've seen too many similar scenes in the caged battle arena, and between a fierce beast, demon beast, and slave of the same cultivation, the latter is more terrifying. As he finished speaking, Chen Xiaoshuai sighed rather emotionally. My thoughts are similar to yours. Luo Zan smiled, then he looked at Duan Lingtian and asked. Duan Lingtian, you ought to be thinking like this as well, right? Under the gazes of Luo Zan and Chen Xiaoshuai, Duan Lingtian shook his head. No, the both of them couldn't help but be stunned. No, Duan Lingtian nodded, and then he sighed, the reason I didn't choose slaves isn't because of how great potential they're able to explode forthwith when they're facing imminent danger, but instead because they are humans. Humans that had blood and flesh just like them. Humans. Luo Zan and Chen Xiaoshuai went silent. Although they don't possess human rights, these slaves are humans after all, they're of the same kind as us. Duan Lingtian continued. At the same time, Duan Lingtian's gaze became slightly dazed. He suddenly felt that he'd changed greatly when compared to his previous life. During his previous life, for the sake of attaining his goal, he would sometimes stop at nothing and was exceedingly ruthless. But in this lifetime, he'd changed instead. The current him was simply like a different person when compared to his previous life. In his previous life, he killed resolutely, irrespective of right or wrong. In this lifetime, if there was no need, then when he did things and killed, he wouldn't implicate innocent people. Simply speaking, he'd become humane. This was a change in his psychology. Perhaps even Duan Lingtian himself didn't know that after he came to this world, the him of this lifetime had been unconsciously influenced and changed. Whereas all these changes came from the people by his side. In this lifetime, he had parents, he had fiancés, and he had many brothers and friends. He wasn't all alone like in his previous life. Of the same kind, what a notion. I truly never imagined that amongst the people that came to watch the excitement in the caged battle arena, there's still such a compassionate person. Truly laughable. An ear-piercing voice entered into the ears of Duan Lingtian's group of three. Subsequently, a young man in embroidered clothes sat at a seat nearby Duan Lingtian's group of three under the escort of an old man. The words from before were precisely spoke by this embroidered-clothed young man. If you're really compassionate, then why are you coming to watch slaves battle? Hypocrite. The tone of the young man in embroidered clothes was as annoying could be. Duan Lingtian frowned and couldn't be bothered to pay attention to the young man. Luo Zan and Chen Xiaoshuai frowned when they heard the mocking of the young man in embroidered clothes, and only eased up their frowns when they saw Duan Lingtian didn't take any action. TL Note. 1. Web links. 536 Chapter 537, Water counters fire. Allow me. An explosive shout sounded out from the east side of the spectating area. Subsequently, a robust middle-aged man left the spectating area and was brought into the caged battle arena by the workers of the arena. Looks like the temptation of 500,000 gold is extremely great. Duan Lingtian said with a smile. It's not only 500,000 gold, to a martial artist, the battle to the death in the caged battle arena is also an extremely superb method to stimulate the potential in their bodies, said crazy young master, and traces of burning battle intent seemed to be suffused within his eyes. Luo Zan, you look impatient to enter the arena to me, but, you're at the 4th level of the void prying stage now, so there aren't many opponents for you, said Chen Xiaoshuai with a smile. Duan Lingtian, if there's a 4th level void prying stage slave or demon beast, you can't fight for it with me. Luo Zan said to Duan Lingtian. Demon beast, mine, slave, yours. Duan Lingtian spoke indifferently. Since he'd come to the caged battle arena, he naturally wouldn't just watch the excitement. He wanted to experience the pleasure of battling a demon beast of the same cultivation as well. Agreed. Luo Zan nodded. Although between demon beasts and slaves, he was more afraid of the latter. But he wasn't afraid of ordinary 4th level void prying stage slaves. It could be seen from the conversation between Luo Zan and Duan Lingtian that Duan Lingtian's current cultivation was equal to Luo Zan, the 4th level of the void prying stage. Squeak squeak, the little gold mouse who stood on Duan Lingtian's shoulder cried out, and her pair of jade green eyes had a burning flowing light flicker within. What, little gold, you want to join in the fun as well? Duan Lingtian looked at the little gold mouse and asked via voice transmission. Squeak squeak, the little gold mouse nodded enthusiastically, and she said via voice transmission, Big brother Lingtian, if there's an 8th level void prying stage slave of demon beast, then I want to battle them. Duan Lingtian rolled his eyes at the little gold mouse, and then he asked Luo Zan and Chen Xiaoshuai. Are there demon beasts and slaves at the 7th level void prying stage and above in this caged battle arena? 7th level of the void prying stage. Both of them were stunned when they heard Duan Lingtian, then they shook their heads at the same time. It's impossible for a demon beast or slave at the 7th level of the void prying stage and above to appear. Luo Zan said, even if there are slaves or demon beasts at the 7th level of the void prying stage and above in the caged battle arena, the caged battle arena wouldn't allow them to enter the arena. Existences like that are normally enlisted into Prince Sheng's estate, and they are either auctioned off at high prices or kept to guard and look after the estate. Exactly, if existences at the 7th level of the void prying stage were to be put into the caged battle arena, it would absolutely be a reckless waste. Confirmed Chen Xiaoshuai. Duan Lingtian came to a suddenly understanding, then looked at the little gold mouse as he said via voice transmission, Little gold, looks like you have no chance of entering the arena. The little gold mouse's little head instantly drooped when she heard this, and she was dispirited. Duan Lingtian's gaze quickly descended into the caged battle arena. Presently, the robust middle-aged man that entered the arena was already locked in combat with the slave. As they were both 7th level nascent soul stage martial artists, the two of them were evenly matched. When the two of them fought, punches and kicks went to and fro as origin energy raged, and it caused one to be dazzled by the sight. Roar! Suddenly, the slave abruptly emitted an enraged roar that was like a fierce beast, and it was as if he'd gone mad as he pounced towards the robust middle-aged man. The situation was originally in equilibrium, but now, when he saw the slave suddenly explode out to fight desperately, a wisp of terror appeared in the eyes of the robust middle-aged man. It was precisely because of this instant of hesitation. He lost. Accompanied by the shrill cries that stopped abruptly, he was forcefully torn into 2 halves by the slave. His mangled body flew out to the sides before crashing onto the ground. This exceedingly bloody scene was like a fuse that completely lit the atmosphere at the scene ablaze. Many spectators stood up in excitement as they swung their fists and cheered. Barbarian! Barbarian! The wave of cheers resounded out and enveloped the entire caged battle arena. Barbarian! It's the name of this slave. Duan Lingtian's brows raised. His sharp gaze passed through the enormous iron cage before him to look at the word branded on this slave's face. Barbarian! Subsequently, the battles within the caged battle arena were carried out like a raging fire. This is a 1st level void prying stage demon beast, Flame Lion. Is there any guest at the 1st level of the void prying stage that wants to enter the arena and battle it? So long as you kill this Flame Lion, you'll be able to obtain 3 million gold. The voice of the old man that floated above the caged battle arena sounded out. In the caged battle arena, a flame lion with an entire body of red-colored hair stood there. The flame lion was like a small hill, opening its bloody mouth every now and then as scarlet red appeared in its fierce eyes. Imperceptibly, it gave others a type of pressure. This flame lion is supposedly a demon beast that is blessed by the heavens. So long as it breaks through to the 1st level of the void prying stage and becomes a demon beast, then it's able to comprehend elementary fire force. Luo Zan sighed. Very few 1st level void prying stage martial artists are able to defeat this flame lion. Looks like there ought to be no one that enters the arena, said Chen Xiaoshuai. Indeed, Duan Lingtian nodded. Although in truth, any one of the 3 of them were sufficient to go against the flame lion when they were at the 1st level of the void prying stage. But in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, there were extremely few people that possessed this type of natural talent and comprehension ability. HMPH. A group of bumpkins. Open up your lowly eyes and watch. A 1st level void prying stage flame lion can't withstand a single blow from me, this 1st level void prying stage martial artist. Suddenly, an ear-piercing voice entered into the ears of Duan Lingtian's group of 3. Whoosh! Subsequently, Duan Lingtian's group of 3 noticed that the young man in embroidered clothes that sat nearby had flown out to arrive outside the arena. The young man in embroidered clothes turned around and looked provocatively at Duan Lingtian's group of 3 before entering into the arena under the arrangement of the caged battle arena's workers. Whereas the old man that followed by the young man's side stood on the spot and didn't make any movement. He's a first-level void-prying stage martial artist. Duan Lingtian's brows raised. The age of this young man in embroidered clothes couldn't be considered to be old, and was at most around the age of 30. Even in the entire Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, his natural talent could be considered to be first-rate, as he possessed a cultivation at the first level of the void-prying stage at such an age. Sword young master, did you know that there was such a figure in the Imperial City? Luo Zan frowned as he asked Chen Xiaoshuai. Luo Zan was extremely displeased towards the attitude of the young man in embroidered clothes. A wisp of a smile of comprehension appeared on the corners of Chen Xiaoshuai's mouth. Luo Zan, this person's relationship with the caged battle arena is deep. Obviously, Chen Xiaoshuai had recognized the young man embroidered clothes. Deeply related to the caged battle arena. Luo Zan frowned, yet was unable to guess it in the end, and he cursed. If you know then speak frankly, what are you beating around the bush for? Alas, I originally wanted to tell you, but your current attitude caused me to not want to tell you. Chen Xiaoshuai pretended to sigh, and he had an expression that said, what can you do to me? This caused Luo Zan to gnash his teeth with hatred. Duan Lingtian's gaze descended into the arena. The body of the young man was currently suffused with a layer of origin energy, and his entire body seemed as if it was enveloped in a ball of white-colored flames. Whereas within these white-colored flames, there seemed to be strands of blue-colored energy leaping about. Water force. Duan Lingtian's brows raised. Although this young man was arrogant, needless to say, he still has some strength. Whoosh! In the sky above the young man was 2,200 ancient mammoth silhouettes that gradually condensed into form. First-level void-prying stage. Elementary water force. Roar! The flame lion's eyes revealed slight fear when faced with the young man in embroidered clothes. Water counters fire. It just so happened that what it comprehended was elementary fire force. Die! Suddenly, the eyes of the young man in embroidered clothes went slightly cold as his figure flashed out extremely gently like a pool of autumn water. Roar! The flame lion naturally wouldn't resign itself to death, and it abruptly pounced out as it opened its bloody mouth. Dense origin energy gushed out from his mouth, transforming into a beam of light that flashed out to fiercely smash towards the young man. It was precisely the elementary flame force. Futile effort. The young man shouted out explosively, and the embroidered clothes on his body fluttered without the wind. He raised his hand and formed a fist, and his origin energy skyrocketed. Bang! The young man punched out, his origin energy condensing into the shape of a fist before flashing out fiercely, and strands of blue-colored energy were suffused within it. Origin energy and force that was of little difference. Finally, the origin energy fist of the young man in embroidered clothes collided with the beam of light that gushed out from the bloody mouth of the flame lion, and the collision emitted an enormous bang. Whoosh! The air flow flashed out in the sky, and it seemed to transform into circle after circles of ripples that swept out. A wave of violent winds spread out from every direction. Roar! Suddenly, the flame lion cried out once again. But this roar was slightly low. The origin energy fist print of the young man instantly shattered the origin energy beam of light that gushed out from the flame lion's mouth, and the soft elementary water force extremely easily crushed the elementary fire force. Coupled with the origin energy of the young man that wasn't inferior to the flame lion. Bang! After the young man's origin energy fist shattered the beam of light, it didn't lose momentum in the slightest before crashing onto the flame lion's face. Hell! Instantly, the flame lion howled sorrowfully, and its body was blasted flying. The young man seized the opportunity to chase up and his fish smashed down once more. The soft water force completely countered the flame lion. Not long after, the flame lion had its head smashed open by the young man's fist, and it was directly blasted to death. Instantly, the surrounding spectating area emitted waves of cheers that rose and fell. Some young women looked at the young man in embroidered clothes with gazes that were filled with burning desire, as if they wished for nothing more than to be swallowed up by the young man in embroidered clothes. HMPH. He has slight strength. Chen Xiaoshuai snorted coldly. He just had the advantage of the water force. Otherwise, he might not be a match for the flame lion. Luo Zan snorted. No matter what, he won in the end. Duan Lingtian smiled indifferently. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian noticed that when the young man went to receive the reward for killing the flame lion, the old man that presided over the caged battle arena had actually bent down before the young man. It was more like a bow of respect. Looks like this person's identity isn't simple, Duan Lingtian thought in his heart. Meanwhile, the young man in embroidered clothes received the reward of a large stack of gold bills and had returned. At this moment, he looked at Duan Lingtian's group of 3 with a haughty gaze. You're only a first-level void-prying stage martial artist, what are you complacent about? Luo Zan sneered and didn't conceal it in the slightest. 537 Chapter 538, Little Prince. What did you say? Luo Zan's words were heard by the young man in embroidered clothes, and it caused his expression to go gloomy. Is there something wrong with your ears? Luo Zan laughed in ridicule and wasn't polite in the slightest. Not to mention a young man whose background was unknown, even if it was Flame Young Master, the 3rd son of the current emperor, Luo Zan didn't respect him in the slightest. As the grandson of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Weapons Craftsman Guild's master, Luo Zan had his own arrogance. You're courting death. The eyes of the young man in embroidered clothes went cold as he shouted out explosively, and his entire body flashed out to pounce towards Luo Zan. Bang! The young man smashed out with his fist, and the origin energy fist condensed before whistling out like a descending meteor. In the sky, 2,200 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form and dashed out behind him. It's uncertain who dies, Luo Zan sneered, and he even didn't have the intention of standing up. Whoosh! With a raise of his hand, he chopped out with his palm. An origin energy light blade condensed into form and whistles out, instantly chopping apart the young man's origin energy fist. When the origin energy fist of the young man in embroidered clothes was dispersed. The origin energy light blade didn't lose momentum in the slightest and flashed directly towards the young man. Its target went straight for the young man's throat. Luo Zan had launched a killing blow. Whereas the young man was completely stunned when he saw the 3,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes that appeared out of thin air above Luo Zan. 2nd level void prying stage. It caused him to think that Luo Zan was only a 2nd level void prying stage martial artist. He instead didn't know that Luo Zan's strength was far more than this. When he recovered from his shock, he saw the origin energy light blade was a very short distance away, and his face went ghastly pale. Stay your hand. Right at this moment, the old man by the young man in embroidered clothes that didn't make a movement since the beginning had shouted out coldly. Accompanied by this cold shout, the old man swiftly flashed out. In the sky, an ancient horned dragon silhouettes that was clustered around by 2,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes dashed out. 9th level of the void prying stage. At the same time that the old man flashed out, his origin energy condensed with a raise of his hand, and a palm print that was condensed into form whistled out. Bang! Before the origin energy light blade killed the young man, it shattered the origin energy light blade in a timely manner. The young man in embroidered clothes heaved a sigh of relief when he got his life back. When he returned to his senses, his face went grim and he glared angrily at Luo Zan. Elder Ping, I want him dead. Obviously, he was speaking to the old man. Duan Lingtian frowned. Little Gold, if this old goat dares act rashly, kill him. Subsequently, Duan Lingtian's voice transmission entered into the little gold mouse's ears, and it was filled with coldness. Squeak squeak, the originally dispirited little gold mouse instantly became excited when she heard Duan Lingtian's voice transmission. She stood up and stared at the old man beside the young man with excitement. She had already started to accumulate force. So long as the old man made a move, she would kill the old man. Duan Lingtian wasn't worried in the slightest if Little Gold was able to kill the old man or not. After all, when Little Gold was only at the 7th level of the void prying stage, her strength was sufficient to defeat an ordinary 9th level void prying stage martial artist by relying on her grade 4 spirit sword and advanced lightning force. Presently, Little Gold was already an 8th level void prying stage demon beast, and killing a 9th level void prying stage martial artist wasn't difficult. Squeak squeak, Little Gold glared at the old man as she bared her fangs and brandished her claws in provocation. But unfortunately, the old man didn't look at her. Who are you? The old man looked at Luo Zan and asked in a low voice. Looks like some people of your Prince Sheng's estate are really oblivious of the happenings in the outside world, you don't even recognize the crazy young master, Luo Zan. Truly laughable, Luo Zan hadn't even spoken when the nearby Chen Xiaoshuai couldn't help but laugh. Crazy young master, Luo Zan. As soon as Chen Xiaoshuai finished speaking, the old man went pale and his eyes revealed deep fear. So it's crazy young master. Now he felt slightly fortunate. Fortunate that he didn't act rashly earlier and attack this young man before him. Otherwise, if anything were to happen to this young man before him, he would die for sure. Crazy young master, Luo Zhan, the person that was ranked at the top of the 5 great young masters. Although he'd never seen crazy young master in the flesh, even if he'd been following the little prince to travel around for many years, the reputation of crazy young master was still like thunder that reverberated by his ears. Supposedly, this crazy young master's background was even more shocking than his natural talent. He was the grandson of the guild master of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Weapons Craftsman Guild's main guild. The Weapons Craftsman Guild had always been an extremely aloof existence, and even if it was the Emperor of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom that met the Guild Master of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Weapons Craftsman Guild's main guild, the Emperor would still need to be reverent and respectful. Let alone himself, who was only a member of the prince's estate. So it's crazy young master, this old man has been impolite. This is my little prince, I hope that you can tolerate any rudeness. The old man took a deep breath and cupped his hands towards Luo Zhan as he admitted his mistakes. As expected, Duan Lingtian's brows raised. Earlier, when the young man in embroidered clothes received his rewards, Duan Lingtian had noticed that the old man that presided over the caged battle arena was extremely respectful towards the young man. At that time, he had his suspicions. When Luo Zhan attacked the young man, and when the old man by the young man's side shouted out, Duan Lingtian noticed that face of the old man that presided over the caged battle arena became grim. Obviously, he was worried for the young man in embroidered clothes. At that time, he'd practically confirmed that the young man was a member of Prince Sheng's estate. After all, the caged battle arena belonged to Prince Sheng's estate, and the members of the caged battle arena were members of Prince Sheng's estate. Little prince. The old man looked at the young man and gave him a look. Obviously, he wanted to make the young man apologize. Unexpectedly, PFF'd, the young man looked at Luo Zhan and ridiculed. You're the one that's ranked at the top of the 5 great young masters that are publicly acknowledged by our Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. You're nothing great, you're only at the 2nd level of the void prying stage at such an age. So what if it's the 2nd level of the void prying stage? It's fine as long as I can crush you. Luo Zhan sneered, and he didn't reveal his true strength at the 4th level of the void prying stage to make the young man completely shut his mouth. Perhaps, as far as he was concerned, there was utterly no need. He didn't take this young man in embroidered clothes seriously. The little prince of Prince Sheng's estate. Prince Sheng's son. To him, that was no different than an ordinary person. The young man was greatly enraged, and he wanted to continue mocking Luo Zhan, yet was restrained by the old man by his side. Little prince, if the prince finds out that you had such a huge conflict with crazy young master, I'm afraid he'll be extremely angry. The young man, which was the little prince of Prince Sheng's estate, went pale when he heard the old man, and his pupils constricted. It was as if his imperial father, Prince Sheng, was a dreadful monster in his eyes. He glared fiercely at Luo Zhan before returning to his seat. Sword young master, you discerned his identity a long time ago. Luo Zhan looked at Chen Xiaoshui as he asked. Yes, Chen Xiaoshui nodded. When he sat down there, I noticed that the members of the caged battle arena actually didn't collect the fees for the seat from him. At that time, I felt it to be slightly strange. Later on, I saw that he was slightly similar in appearance to Prince Sheng between his brows, and I recalled that Prince Sheng had a son who was gaining experience and tempering outside year in and year out, so, I had a guess. Chen Xiaoshui spoke slowly. You're good at guessing. Luo Zhan shook his head and smiled, and his eyes contained slight disdain mixed within. I heard long ago that the son of Prince Sheng that was far away had a pretty good natural talent. Now that I've seen him today, he's nothing great. His natural talent is indeed able to be considered as pretty good. Of course, if you compare him to us, then he's naturally greatly inferior. Sword young master said with a smile. Duan Lingtian, that kid is the illegitimate child of the owner of the caged battle arena, Prince Shen, and his name is Zhang Heng. Sword young master said to Duan Lingtian. Zhang Heng. Duan Lingtian nodded. The matter between Luo Zhan and Zhang Heng was only a farce, and it only caused a stir in the surrounding spectating area that quickly quieted down. The gazes of everyone had once again descended to the caged battle arena. The battles within the caged battle arena were still continuing. Meanwhile, another nascent soul stage slave and demon beast entered the arena. The entire caged battle seemed to have no regular pattern. Roar. A wave of enraged roars that were shocking sounded out, the old man that presided over the caged battle arena had his leg on an enormous beast the size of a small mountain as they stepped into the arena. Everywhere the enormous beast passed, the arena and the surrounding spectating arena experienced a wave of shaking as if the ground was quaking. Earth bear. It's an earth bear, comma. Instantly, many spectators in the spectating area couldn't refrain from crying out in sharp voices. Earth bear. Duan Lingtian's gaze couldn't help but descend onto the enormous beast. This enormous beast had a figure that was enormous like a mountain. The earlier flame lion was simply like a child when compared to it. This enormous beast was a bear-type demon beast. But compared to ordinary bears, it was much more savage and terrifying. Its pair of crimson-red eyes seemed to resent everything. That pair of sharp fangs even seemed as if they could pierce through everything. On its four bare paws, its sharp claws flickered with a frightful cold light. Earth beast, a void-prying stage demon beast. A mature earth bear had a strength that was at least at the 4th level of the void-prying stage, and a stronger earth bear was at the 5th or 6th level of the void-prying stage. In Duan Lingtian's mind, the memories of the rebirth martial emperor flashed by, and he'd found the record related to the void-prying stage demon beast, Earth Bear. The Earth Bear was an extremely terrifying demon beast. Supposedly, the Earth Bear has a special comprehension of Earth Force that's similar to the Flame Lion's comprehension of Fire Force. In the comprehension of Force, no matter if it was the Flame Lion or Earth Bear, they were both outstanding amongst demon beasts. Duan Lingtian thought in his heart. Roar. When the Earth Bear arrived within the arena and saw the gazes from the surroundings descending onto it, it went completely berserk. On the surface of its body, milky white origin energy skyrocketed. Suffused within the milky white origin energy was strands of earth and yellow energy. Presently, accompanying the Earth Bear's movements, the shaking of the ground became slightly more intense, and the seats where Duan Lingtian's group sat was even shaken to the point it started to sway. Whereas in the sky above the Earth Bear, 6,500 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared out of thin air. 4th level void-prying stage demon beast. Half-step advanced Earth Force. At this moment, Duan Lingtian confirmed the strength of the Earth Bear. Crazy young master, are you confident? Chen Xiaoshuai looked at Luozan and asked with a smile. Luozan had a serious expression as he shook his head, and then as if he recalled something, a wisp of a smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. I remember Duan Lingtian said that 4th level void-prying stage demon beasts were his. Luozan looked at Duan Lingtian with an expression of anticipation. 538 Chapter 539, Mysterious Blood. Duan Lingtian sized up the Earth Bear with interest. Presently, the old man that presided over the caged battle arena seemed to be helpless against the Earth Bear and allowed it to be restless. He didn't dare strike a heavy blow onto the Earth Bear, as it still had to earn money for the caged battle arena. If the Earth Bear were to be injured by him, then another would surely gain an unfair advantage against it in the subsequent cage battle. Guests, this is a 4th level void-prying stage demon beast, Earth Bear. If any 4th level void-prying stage guest is interested, feel free to enter the arena and battle the Earth Bear. The old man's voice sounded out clearly. Not only is this Earth Bear at the 4th level of the void-prying stage, it had even comprehended half-step advanced Earth Force. It's extremely difficult for a 4th level void-prying stage martial artist to kill it without relying on any external source of strength. Yeah, if a 4th level void-prying stage martial artist encountered this Earth Bear, then the chances of surviving was near to zero. I'm afraid no one would dare enter the arena. Many people discussed animatedly. If no one enters the arena, then will the caged battle arena send out a 4th level void-prying stage slave to have a cage battle with this Earth Bear? Duan Lingtian asked Luozan and Chen Xiaoshuai curiously. Impossible. Luozan shook his head. You're hoping for too much. Once a demon beast or slave at the 1st level of the void-prying stage and above enters into the arena and isn't challenged by someone, they would directly leave the arena. Then, a nascent soul stage slave and demon beast would enter the arena instead. Chen Xiaoshuai nodded as well. Exactly. No matter if it was a slave or demon beast, existences at the void-prying stage and above were an enormous wealth to the caged battle arena. The caged battle arena would usually not allow a slave and demon beast at the 1st level of the void-prying stage or above to fight and kill each other. Duan Lingtian came to a sudden understanding. Just like now, if no 4th level void-prying stage challenges the Earth Bear would be taken out of the arena by members of the caged battle arena, and they wouldn't find a 4th level void-prying stage slave to enter the arena and lose his life. Luozan added. Duan Lingtian nodded. Duan Ling Tian, unless you hold back your strength and want to take a beating, otherwise, it isn't difficult for you to kill this earth bear. Chen Shuai said with a smile. Luo Zan nodded with deep agreement, as he was extremely clear of Duan Ling Tian's strength. Not to mention his cultivation at the 4th level of the void prying stage, Duan Ling Tian had even comprehended 2 types of half-step advanced force. An ordinary 4th level void prying stage martial artist or demon beast being able to comprehend 1 type of half-step advanced force was already considered to be possessing shocking comprehension. But Duan Ling Tian instead had directly comprehended 2 types. His comprehension could be called monstrous. There's no rush, let's first see what reward the person that kills the earth bear is able to obtain from the caged battle arena. Duan Ling Tian smiled lightly and his gaze descended onto the old man in the arena. Meanwhile, the old man raised his hand, and a drop of fiery red liquid appeared in his hand. The fiery red liquid flickered with a fine light, and it seemed especially dazzling like a crimson star in the night sky. If a 4th level void prying stage guest is able to kill this earth bear, then the guest will be able to obtain this drop of mysterious blood, the old man's voice slowly sounded out. Mysterious blood, the old man's words aroused the interest of the group of spectators. What is this mysterious blood? What use does it have? Instantly, many spectators asked in loud voices. Good question, the old man said with a smile. This drop of mysterious blood was obtained by Prince Sheng many years ago by chance. This drop of mysterious blood is something that even a grade 5 alchemist's pill fire was completely helpless against it. As soon as the old man finished speaking, hiss, 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 the sounds of gasping rose and fell endlessly in the surroundings of the arena. Even the pill fire of a grade 5 alchemist was helpless against the mere drop of blood. Is it really true? Many spectators spoke out in doubt. After all, the pill fire of a grade 5 alchemist was almost able to melt everything they knew of. That was a grade 5 pill fire. Unless it was a rare material of legend, otherwise, there were very little things that a grade 5 pill fire was unable to melt. Even if everyone doesn't believe our caged battle arena, you ought to believe Prince Sheng's estate, right? The old man smiled lightly as he continued. Not only is a grade 5 alchemist's grade 5 pill fire unable to do anything to this drop of mysterious blood, even if it's a void initiation stage inscription master, the inscription master's spiritual force was dispersed before it could even come near to the mysterious blood. The old man's words caused the spectating area to become deathly silent. Exactly what demon beast's blood is this? It's actually so peculiar. Many people couldn't help but sigh with emotion. They naturally wouldn't think that this was the blood of a human. What a joke, it was practically impossible for a human's blood to be so abnormal. Our Prince Sheng's estate has studied this drop of mysterious blood for many years and have paid an extremely great price for it, however, we gained nothing in the end. So, today, our Prince Sheng's estate has taken it out to be the reward for the 4th level void prying stage guest that kills the earth bear. The old man said with a sonorous voice, no matter who it is, so long as you kill the earth bear, you'll be able to obtain this drop of mysterious blood. I presume everyone already knows very well in their heart about how extraordinary this mysterious blood is. If anyone is able to unearth its secrets, perhaps that person will be able to soar into the sky with a single leap. Needless to say, the old man's words were extremely infectious. For a time, many 4th level void prying stage martial artists were eager to enter the arena. But when they thought of how the earth bear had comprehended half-step advanced earth force, they had an extra sense of hesitation. When faced with an earth bear that had comprehended half-step advanced earth force, even if it was a 4th level void prying stage martial artist that had similarly comprehended half-step advanced force, if the martial artist didn't rely on the assistance of external sources of strength, the martial artist wouldn't dare battle it. The earth force was a type of force of nature. Once one stood on the ground and executed it, one would be able to draw support from the energy of the earth and would be able to increase one's strength by a certain amount. Roar! Right at this moment, the earth bear emitted an enormous roar once again. The earth started shaking once again. This time, ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form once again above the earth bear's head. But, it wasn't 6,500 ancient mammoth silhouettes this time, but instead was 6,800 ancient mammoth silhouettes. The strength of a 4th level void prying stage demon beast was comparable to the strength of 6,000 ancient mammoths. The half-step advanced earth force was comparable to the strength of 500 ancient mammoths. As for the extra strength of 300 ancient mammoths that the earth bear possessed, it was instead an amplification of strength from drawing support from the energy of the earth. The earth force was able to fuse into one with the earth and draw support from the energy of the earth. As for how much energy the earth force was able to draw support from the earth, it would depend on the level of comprehension of earth force. At this moment, when they saw the earth bear demonstrate its might with their own 2 eyes, and it drew upon the energy of heaven and earth to develop 6,800 ancient mammoth silhouettes. The 4th level void-prying stage martial artists that were eager to enter the arena were completely terrified. Those that stood up had sat back down, and those that were just intending to stand up moved their butts back. All of them broke out with slight cold sweat. The earth bear too terrifying. Unless it's a 4th level void-prying stage martial artist that has comprehended advanced force, otherwise, it's almost impossible to defeat the earth bear. Many spectators sighed with emotion. All of them felt that this round of cage battle would probably come to nothing. I heard long ago, when one stands on the ground and executes earth force, one can draw support from the energy of the earth. Today, I can be considered to have experienced it. Chen Xiaoshui sighed with emotion. If it's a space without restrictions, then so long as one soars up into the sky, one would be completely capable of moving away from the ground and causing the human martial artist or demon beast that has comprehended earth force to be unable to draw support from the energy of the earth. But the caged battle arena is restricted by that enormous iron cage, and one completely has no way of avoiding the area of attack of the earth bear that stood on the ground. Luo Zhan took a deep breath and his eyes were filled with fear. It was precisely because he'd thought of this since long ago that he didn't have the courage to battle the earth bear. Duan Lingtian, in next to no time, Luo Zhan and Chen Xiaoshui looked at Duan Lingtian, as they wanted to know Duan Lingtian's intentions. But they quickly noticed that since an unknown time, Duan Lingtian sat there with a dazed expression, and he looked at the old man that presided over the caged battle arena with a blank gaze. Precisely speaking, he was looking at the drop of fiery red-colored mysterious blood in the old man's hand. Scarlet Phoenix blood, it's the blood of a scarlet phoenix. It was like a tempestuous storm had arisen in the heart of Duan Lingtian, who had a dazed expression. Heavens! What have I seen? I've actually seen the blood of a scarlet phoenix here. The scarlet phoenix was an extremely formidable demon beast. In terms of natural talent, it even surpassed the jade-eyed heavenly mouse slightly. There was a rumor in Cloud Continent. The scarlet phoenix was the descendants of phoenixes. Whereas phoenixes were divine beasts. They were existences that were on par with true dragons, and their strengths were exceedingly formidable. Of course, no matter if it was the phoenix or the dragon that was equally famous, they were both existences of legend. At least, an existence like this hadn't appeared in Cloud Continent. Even if it was the so-called dragon that occasionally appeared, it was only a fellow that was half a WYRM and half a dragon, and it wasn't a true dragon. Furthermore, even if it was these fellows that were half dragon and half WYRM, their strengths were extremely terrifying, and this was only because the blood of a dragon flowed within them. Just like the scarlet phoenix, the blood of the phoenix flowed within it. According to the memories of the rebirth martial emperor, he's once obtained an ancient medicinal formula during his first lifetime, and at the side of that medicinal formula was a bottle that was refined from unknown materials. Within that bottle was a drop of scarlet phoenix blood. Duan Lingtian's mood surged. Whereas that medicinal formula recorded a medicinal pill that is refined by using the blood of the scarlet phoenix as a medicinal catalyst. The medicinal pill is called the rebirth pill. Rebirth pill. Resurrection had always been the special ability of the phoenix of legend. Whereas using the blood of the scarlet phoenix, which has the blood of the phoenix flowing within it as the medicinal catalyst, the rebirth pill was instead able to be refined. Of course, the rebirth pill wasn't able to actually allow one to be resurrected. The place the rebirth martial emperor obtained the medicinal formula for the rebirth pill and the scarlet phoenix blood all those years was a mysterious ruins. The 3 lives rebirth technique the rebirth martial emperor cultivated came from that ruins as well. Duan Lingtian swiftly searched through the memories of the rebirth martial emperor and he found out about many things. Even if it was the rebirth martial emperor who had experienced 2 lifetimes and was at his prime, he was still unable to discern who left that ruins behind. Unknowingly, Duan Lingtian had returned to his senses. Scarlet phoenix blood. Burning flames silently blazed deep within Duan Lingtian's gaze. 539 Chapter 540, Duan Lingtian's cage battle. Is there any guest that wants to undergo a cage battle with this earth bear? The old man within the caged battle arena spoke out to confirm once more. Half-step advanced earth force and drawing support from the energy of the earth. The strength of 6,800 ancient mammoths. Slightly interesting. Duan Lingtian calmed his feelings that were surging because of the scarlet phoenix blood, and the corners of his mouth curled into a meaningful arc. Whoosh! In the next moment, Duan Lingtian left his seat and seemed to have transformed into a bolt of lightning that shot towards the enormous iron cage that enveloped the entire arena. In the sky, 6,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. Squeak squeak, the little gold mouse stayed at the seat and looked excitedly at Duan Lingtian, who dashed towards the arena, and it was as if she was cheering for Duan Lingtian. Fourth level void prying stage. The face of Prince Shang's estate's little prince, Zhang Heng, who sat nearby with feelings of indignant resentment, became extremely unsightly. Never had he imagined that the young man that was ridiculed by him earlier actually possessed such a terrifying strength. Most importantly, this young man's age was obviously younger than him by a few years. His age looks to be around 25, yet his cultivation is at the 4th level of the void prying stage. Exactly who is he? The crowd of spectators nearby the spectating area Duan Lingtian sat at were all curious. He came with crazy young master. Could it be that he's a member of the Dragon and Phoenix Academy? Amongst the genius students in the Dragon and Phoenix Academy, it seems that only the genius disciple of the former 7-star sword sect, Duan Lingtian, conforms to these conditions. Could it be that he's Duan Lingtian? It's possible. Besides Duan Lingtian, our Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom doesn't have any other monstrous genius like this. In next to no time, the spectators guessed Duan Lingtian's identity from their discussions. Duan Lingtian, along with the passage of time, practically all the few tens of thousands of spectators in the entire caged battle arena knew that the young man that entered the arena now was Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian, the genius disciple of the former 7-star sword sect. A few years ago, he'd once defeated Saber Young Master and Zither Young Master, causing his name to shake the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. Later on, the 7-star sword sect was annihilated and Duan Lingtian had entered the Dragon and Phoenix Academy, and he revealed a natural talent and comprehension ability that was even more monstrous than the rumors said. Since that time, Duan Lingtian seemed to have become a legend of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. Now Duan Lingtian wanted to enter the arena and battle the Earth Bear. For a time, their hearts were filled with anticipation. He's that Duan Lingtian. Zhang Heng's face sank. Although he was wandering about outside of the city for many years and had only returned lately, Duan Lingtian's name was like thunder reverberating in his ears. Duan Lingtian, a peerless and monstrous genius that had suddenly risen to prominence a few years ago. After he rose, he seemed to press down the limelight of the 5 great young masters of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. He was called the unprecedented genius martial artist of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. The expression of the old man that stood behind Zhang Heng became serious. When Duan Lingtian arrived before the enormous iron cage, the worker of the arena had a reverent expression as he walked forward and opened up the door that led to the arena. From the beginning until the end, Duan Lingtian had a calm expression as he watched this whirlwind. In the next moment, Duan Lingtian's figure moved, seeming to have transformed into a gale that flashed into the arena. Whoosh! Duan Lingtian stood in midair and looked calmly at the earth bear that was beneath the old man's leg. Roar! The earth bear seemed to know why Duan Lingtian had come, and its scarlet red eyes revealed icy coldness. Not only that, bang, 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 the earth bear continued to struggle beneath the old man's feet, and the origin energy and half-step advanced earth force shot out from its body, causing the ground of the entire caged battle arena to quake. Duan Lingtian, the old man that was in charge of presiding over the caged battle arena, looked at Duan Lingtian with a gaze that revealed slight surprise. The peerless genius of the former 7-star sword sect has a well-deserved reputation as expected, but, are you sure you want to undergo a caged battle with the earth bear? After all, with your natural talent and strength, it isn't difficult for you to win one of the 5 places to head to the Darkstone Empire in the genius competition half a month from now. If I was you, I'd surely not take the risk. The old man spoke word by word. His words seemed to have the intention of persuading Duan Lingtian. Thank you for your concern, senior, but I've already decided. Duan Lingtian smiled lightly and was neither arrogant nor humble. Very good. The old man nodded. Since you've decided, then if I say anything further, it would seem to be slightly annoying. Get ready, I'll leave this earth bear after the time of 10 breaths. At that time, between you and the earth bear, only one of you can survive. Duan Lingtian nodded. The time of 10 breaths wasn't long. However, at this moment, the crowd of spectators in the spectating area had all held their breaths. After a short moment, they once again went into an uproar. Duan Lingtian is too rash. Yeah, his future is limitless. There's no need to enter the caged battle arena and take a risk. Although I heard long ago that he'd comprehended 2 half-step advanced forces, he'd only be stronger by the strength of 200 ancient mammoths when compared with the earth bear that has drawn support from the energy of the earth. Not only can the earth bear draw support from the energy of the earth, it even possesses extremely tough fur and skin. If it's combined with earth force and the energy of the earth, it can form an extremely terrifying defense. I hope he can kill the earth bear and escape this calamity, otherwise, our Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom will lose an important genius. The hearts of many spectators were at their throats for Duan Lingtian. As far as they were concerned, Duan Lingtian's situation was extremely bad. HMPH, overestimating your abilities. Zhang Heng laughed in ridicule, and his eyes contained a slight mocking expression mixed within. Daring to enter the arena and undergo a caged battle with the earth bear is simply courting death. No matter if he's courting death or not, it's much better than some people. Some people might even not have the courage to enter the arena and not have the courage to battle the earth bear. Chen Xiaoshuai spoke indifferently as he ridiculed in return. His words were utterly blunt. Similar to Luo Zhan, he didn't take Zhang Heng seriously in the slightest. What did you say? Zhang Heng's face was gloomy, and the origin energy on his body surged as if he wanted to launch an attack towards Chen Xiaoshuai. Whereas Chen Xiaoshuai wasn't worried in the slightest, and he had a calm expression. His eyes flickered with a fierce sheen, and they were like swords that would shoot out at his call. Little Prince. Zhang Heng was just intending to leave his seat when he was stopped by the old man behind him. Elder Ping, what are you doing? Zhang Heng had an extremely unsightly expression as he asked with a low voice. The old man didn't pay attention to Zhang Heng and instead looked at Chen Xiaoshuai with a burning gaze. If I'm not wrong, you ought to be sword young master, right? Chen Xiaoshuai's eyes that were like swords swept past the old man as he said indifferently, the member of Prince Sheng's estate aren't simple as expected. At this moment, Chen Xiaoshuai had undoubtedly admitted his own identity. Sword young master. When Zhang Heng heard the old man's words, his expression went pale. Now when he heard Chen Xiaoshuai confirm it, he felt his back become chilly. He felt a wave of powerlessness and humiliation in his heart. These 3 fellows that he looked down upon earlier had actually caused terror to arise from his heart now. This feeling caused him to feel extremely uncomfortable. 10 breaths of time is up. Right at this moment, a sonorous voice sounded out from the arena. Subsequently, the spectators present were able to see clearly that the old man who stood on the back of the earth bear and intentionally restrained the earth bear has risen up into the sky. Roar! After the old man left, the earth bear roared explosively as it regained its freedom, and its pair of scarlet red and fierce eyes stared fixedly at Duan Lingtian. Duan Lingtian stood in the sky with a calm expression. Bang! Finally, the earth bear moved. Its enormous body abruptly strode forward, and its 4 thick and solid bare paws fiercely descended onto the ground. Rumble! A wave of quaking shook the ground. Whoosh! One of the earth bear's paws suddenly raised up, and origin energy condensed and half-step advanced earth force suffused on its sharp claws. In the sky, 6,500 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form and accumulated strength while waiting to be deployed. Swish! Instantly, accompanied with the earth bear's claw flashing out, the vast and boundless origin energy immediately transformed into a material claw mark that flashed directly towards Duan Lingtian. It seemed as if it wanted to tear Duan Lingtian into pieces. Duan Lingtian gazed at the scene before him with a calm gaze, and he had no intention of dodging. Suddenly, Duan Lingtian made a move. Tempest Point. With a raise of his hand, Duan Lingtian pointed out. Swish! The point force condensed into form by origin energy was accompanied by half-step advanced lightning force and half-step advanced wind force as it swept out. In the sky, 7,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. The Tempest Point's point force was like a falling meteor as it descended towards the origin energy claw mark. Bang! The Tempest Point's point force easily shattered the origin energy claw mark and didn't lose momentum in the slightest as it descended and crashed onto the earth bear. Roar! Practically at the instant the Tempest Point's point force shattered the origin energy claw mark, a layer of material origin energy light barrier had appeared on the surface of the earth bear's body. Not only that, half-step advanced earth force followed like a shadow on the origin energy light barrier. Besides that, the Earth Bear had also drawn support from the energy of the Earth. In the sky above the Earth Bear, another 300 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared beside the existing 6,500 ancient mammoth silhouettes. It was precisely the strength the energy of the Earth had bestowed upon the Earth Bear. Bang! The tempest point blasted onto the Earth Bear, and at the same time that it shattered the origin energy light barrier on the surface of the Earth Bear's body, the point force dispersed along with it. The Earth Bear's body only shook, yet wasn't injured in the slightest. What a formidable defense! Duan Lingtian's brows raised. The exchange of moves between Duan Lingtian and the Earth Bear had only occurred in the blink of an eye. However, merely a collision of a single move had lifted the atmosphere of the scene. Today, at this moment, the atmosphere in the caged battle arena had almost arrived at the peak. Duan Lingtian, many spectators cried out sharply with Duan Lingtian's name. Of course, everyone had different thoughts. Duan Lingtian is actually like the rumors say and has comprehended two types of half-step advanced force. Zhang Heng's expression was unsightly to the extreme, and strands of flames of jealousy leapt about deep within his eyes. He's so many years younger than me, but on what basis does he have such high comprehension ability? Zhang Heng's feelings were slightly warped and he was extremely not resigned. He felt his natural talent and comprehension ability was already not bad, and it even wasn't much inferior to those 5 great young masters. However, before Duan Lingtian, he instead seemed to be ordinary to the extreme. He felt it was difficult to accept all this.